Allô? 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 Guys, hi! I don't know why it feels like it's been so long since I last streamed, and it's literally only been like a day and change, and we were hanging out last night in Discord. Rabbit. Allô? For real? That's all I'm saying. Got here at perfect timing. True and real. Hi guys, welcome to the stream, everybody. Hi. Hi guys, my name's Roy Chiato, like a macchiato. I'm a coffee-fueled bunny host with a serious passion for voice acting, and I love working out, in case you couldn't tell. Welcome guys, I hope you're all doing fantastic today. It's wonderful to see you. Hi. Hi. Hello. Hi, Lady Luna. Thank you so much for the 11 months. And Angel T. Davis, thank you for the follow. Welcome, guys. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to the stream. Hi. Sugary. Thank you for the 5 months. Happy RE Retrospective Day and happy 5 months. May the power protect you and the Dusk Bunnies. Hey, thank you. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, we are continuing with our Resident Evil Retrospective today. But instead of a game, it's movie time. Anybody excited for movie time? Who's excited for movie time? I hope you guys are excited for movie time, because I'm excited for movie time. I feel like Mondays like a kind of perfect time for movie time. You know, I feel like it's like the perfect time, because like everyone's probably like, man, today was a pretty long day. Today was a busy day at work. Man, today was a wild day. And you kind of just want to turn your brain off. You want to relax a little. You want to hear, you know, some big personality bunny man on the internet tell you what to do. And I'm telling you to shut up, sit down, and watch some videos with me. Yes, sir. But how's everybody doing today? Happy Monday. I actually have something funny. Popcorn and movie. Ooh. I could go for some popcorn, but I've already had my calories for the day. Minus a few things. Minus a few snacks. Hi, Bunny How Chat. How you all doing? We vibing. We thriving. We might even just be surviving. The big thing that I was just about to say is... Apple. Apple. That's okay. This one might be a 6. I don't think it's fully ripe yet, unfortunately. I don't think it's super ripe yet. It probably could have waited another couple days to ripen. You know what I mean? I'm gonna give it a 6. I might munch on it as we continue out for the stream. Yeah, I'm gonna say a 6. It is a Cosmic Crisp. But here's the funny story. So I got groceries today. That way I'd have everything to continue the cut, because we are obviously continuing with the working out. You know, I'm working out, guys. And as we are continuing that, and we're having a blast with it, there have been... I'm sorry, I bought groceries. Jesus, I don't know where I was going with that before. So I bought groceries. I bought apples. I asked for 6 apples. They gave me 12. They gave me 12. 12. So, yeah. That's a lot of apples. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that many apples. It's gonna take me a lot of streams to finish this many apples. I hope none of them go bad in the time that it takes me to have them. Is honestly what I'm thinking. My mom asked for 4 bananas. We got 4 bags of bananas. That's insane. I forgot they had doubling season in play. That's crazy. Not the double apples. Maybe cook it. Maybe. If I'm like really worried about it, maybe that's what we'll see. Yeah. Now you're set for next week's apples. True. What if you say Apple, like the opening for Kamen Rider Amazon? Apple. Like that? Is that what you mean? We're freaking love apples. Me too. Apples are definitely one of my favorite fruits. I like apples. I like bananas. Strawberries are pretty good. I like blackberries in things and blackberry flavored things, but usually not blackberries themselves because they're kind of annoying, you know? Kind of annoying. Pineapple's also pretty good. Don't dislike pineapple. I just like a lot of fruit. I'm a fruity guy. What can I say? Can I have a hug and kiss because my birthday is tomorrow? No, you have to ask on your birthday. I can't just give these out willy-nilly for free. Come on. You gotta come back on your birthday. Oh my gosh. My first stream. Apples are so good. Hey, welcome in. Hey, we're glad to have you. But yes, happy early birthday. Happy early birthday. Hope it's well. Oh, we can talk about the schedule. I was like, I feel like there was something else that I was missing. That is not the schedule. That is the Ray and Roy art. Here's the schedule. Oh, I didn't update the other thing. I can update something else now too. I just remembered. All right, so schedule, we can update that. And then, where is it? We can change this too, because I did do this. There we go. Yay. We got the pictures changed. Yippee. It's a new month, new pictures. New month, new pictures. So we had to add some fun pictures in. Good times. Yay for new pics. Yeah. But guys, if you didn't see this week's schedule, you'll see that it is another busy week. We have another 6 streams this week, which, oops. Oops. My bad. Listen, I want to take rest days and everything like that, but I'm also like, I'm like motivated stream wise to like do things. I just had like ideas and things that I wanted to do with people. So I was just like, oh, yippee. Yeah. The art. Yeah. Joe cooked with this art. I was very happy with how this turned out for the roleplay. And if you guys haven't already checked out the roleplay, go check it out. ! VA came out last Friday. I think I renamed it recently to make it a little bit more, a little bit more apparent to what's going on. But I'm sure some of you have probably seen the thumbnail. Just a little bit of spice. Watch the ASMR twice already? Hell yeah. Thank you for supporting. I appreciate it. It was so freaking cool. Oh yeah, I know you and I were talking about it before, Thorn. I appreciate it. Thank you. I definitely want to do more role plays like that in the future. Because I can tell you the audience agreed. I definitely had more average watch time than I normally do, which tells me that this is the type of video that you guys like watching, which makes me happy. That's good to know from a me perspective. That's very good to know. That's a really good thing to know. So I'm glad that you guys like it. Yeah. Makes sense for Roy to eat apples this month because it's not only pumpkin spice whatever season, but it's also apple season too. Funny enough, I have a cup of pumpkin spice in front of me. I've got a cup of pumpkin spice. Just got to listen to it today and oh my gosh, totally didn't melt my brain. It didn't. I'm gonna have to work harder next time. Right? I'll have to work harder. I'll have to work harder so I can melt your brain. Yeah. Yeah, I do have a pumpkin spice. Let me take a sip of it. Let me take a sip. I just tasty. The spicy side or the solo side or both? Both is good. I don't remember what we were talking about. So yes, both. Both is good. Confirmed something been suspecting about the first part. It was Xander on the phone. Oh, you mean the one with Haka? Yeah, it was Zanny on the phone. We credited him in the what's it called? The roleplay. It wasn't a mystery. I think you could have just asked and I would have told you, because he's in the credits for the roleplay. Also, male booba. I mean, I do in fact have a bit of personality. I do have a bit of personality, you know? I do have enough. I must not have looked hard enough. Yeah, it's literally like right in the description. It was right there. But the reason that I pulled this up is not for you guys to ogle the muscle, which, you know, I'm very appreciative that you enjoy it, because I enjoy it, you know? Xander, who's that guy? You got me. Sounds like one hell of an incubus, though. Anyway, the reason I pulled up the schedule today is because I wanted to talk about what we are going to be doing this week, because, surprise, we have another busy week. We've got another jam-packed week full of things to do, which is very exciting. And like I said, I have like this strange motivation right now that I'm like really excited to stream, which is why we have so many. And it might not always be like this. It's just that I just have things that I want to do. You know what I mean? So it's just because there are things that I want to stream and activities that I want to do and stuff that I want to share with you guys, we're doing more streams. Like I said, won't always be the case. Won't always be 6 streams a week. It'll more often be 4, I think, is normally what I do. But last week, this week, and potentially next week, 6 streams. I think next week is already set up for 6 streams as well. So obviously today we talked about it a little bit already. So tonight we are continuing with the Resident Evil Retrospective series as we continue through the entirety of the mainline Resident Evil series. We finished Resident Evil Revelations last week. It was not as good as I remembered. However, there's probably a lot of really cool behind the scenes stuff that we can check out. So we're going to check out the video on the retrospective for Resident Evil Revelations tonight. So as we normally do, sometime after we finish a Resident Evil game, we watch a video from your favorite son. And it does look like your favorite son also, as of like either today or yesterday, did make a video on Revelations 2. Which is awesome. So I don't have to worry about any single Resident Evil game that I'm playing for this series not having a video. So we have videos for everything now, which is really, really cool. I have no idea what this is, but I love you, so I'm just here. Oh, you have no idea what this is. I was like, Joe, what does Joe have to do with this? Take your word for it. Energizer Bunny. I just need them more coffee. You know, clearly I just... You want to see Energizer? Oh, I can go all night long. But yeah, so we're going to be continuing with that video tonight. We're going to be having fun with it, seeing more of the behind-the-scenes stuff, having a laugh and a look back at the game that we played last week. So I love seeing these behind-the-scenes things. There's always some really, really cool stuff with these videos. I feel like your favorite son does like a really, really... a really, really good job of diving into these games. And even if I don't always agree with them 100%, I think they're always incredibly entertaining and well knowledged. Or well informed is probably the better. Did you watch the Roy Chiato Experience? I may have seen it on TikTok. Because I think I checked out all my TikTok stuff recently. Yeah, I checked out all the TikTok stuff recently. Because I realized I was really far behind on notifications. Just because I've been so busy. So I'm bad at keeping up with. Basically, I keep up with Twitter and I keep up with the community in Discord, but like if it's not those, I'm probably not really checking notifications as often. So I'm sorry. Kane, Thank you so much for the 2 months. Working until 3 a.m. Hopefully this doesn't last that long. No. I think tonight's video is probably only going to be 2 or 3 hours. I feel like it's usually in the realm of what they are, so that's why we're yapping a bit beforehand. We get to have a little bit of a catch up. We get to have a little bit of a, hey, this is what we have planned for this week, and I get to say hello to my dusk bunnies because you guys are all mine. Villain laugh hello. What are you? I'm not a villain. What? I'm not a villain. I'm clearly a hero. With muscles like these, could I be anything but a hero? Anyway. So yeah, tonight we're watching the retrospective on Resident Evil Revelations. Very excited for that. Tomorrow, we are going back to Paranormal Cleanup. That game that Nick and I played a few weeks ago. This time, I planned further in advance, which is the thing that I told Nick that I would do. And I got Papa Mutt and Shia to join us this time. So it's going to be Nick, Papa, Shia, and myself playing Paranormal Cleanup. There's still a bunch of levels that we haven't done yet. We'll probably run them through the first couple of levels to get them used to everything. But I think it's going to be a wonderful time because Nick and I just had such a blast with us last time. So I think it's going to be really fun. So the boys are back to smooch some spooks. Really excited. I could be an anti-hero. It can be a power bottom. I don't think that has anything to do with being a hero or a villain. Excuse me. I'm a giga power top. Thank you very much. You are evil? What have I ever done? What have I ever done that's evil in the history of the life? I think you're lying. I think you're just straight up lying. Why you always lying? Why you always lying? Okay, and then evilest, most evil, fight me now. Mods, untie their shoelaces. You want to switch? I don't know what you're talking about. That's crazy. Switch? Never. And then Wednesday, in case you guys didn't see the Twitter announcement today, and I did want to talk about this because so Yomi and I are teaming up to do a smash or pass. So I'm going to do that real quick. Smash or pass. I'm going to put the image on screen here real quick. So Yomi and I are teaming up on Wednesday to do a hero and villain smash or pass. Now, I bring this up because I'm seeing a lot of people maybe misunderstand what it is that I mean by villains and heroes. I'm kind of implying like, you know, like Batman and Superman and like Harley Quinn and Catwoman and, you know, Killer Frost and like that's what I was trying to imply. And I think some people are like, oh, it's a smash or pass, put any character I want. And I'm like, no, this is themed because Yomi is a supervillain and we have art together with, you know, us, you know, in hero and villain outfits. So that was kind of the whole reasoning behind it. So yeah, if you guys want to participate in that, yeah, please submit with discretion. I know the Dusk Deputies and I have been having some laughs about it. You know, we've been laughing about it because there are some submissions that I've seen that have been very much, this character does not belong here, and I'm not sure why this person posted these characters. So I went to like Sentai villains. That's fine because those are at least villains. But I was thinking more like, you know, you see how, you know, Yomi and I are a hero and a villain. Like this is kind of the mindset that I thought people would jump to right away because like Yomi and I have a couple art pieces together. You know, we have this one. There's the one that we got last month as well, which I believe is right here. This one, where Yomi kicked my ass and is helping me bandage up afterwards. Like Valentine from DC. Oh, I don't think I know who Valentine is, but sure. DC probably means superheroes or villains. So, yeah. But yeah, so that is the plan. So if you guys have superheroes, supervillains, or characters that just fit into the villain or hero demographic, please submit them, because that's kind of the point of it, you know? Very Tiger and Bunny, no pun intended. It's okay. I've definitely heard that one before. One of my friends, when I first started VTubing, Talatora, her and I would make that joke a lot because she's a tiger and I'm a bunny. So we always used to make that joke of, you know, Tiger and Bunny. So arts are amazing, by the way. Yeah, Joe did a really good job cooking with them. Absolutely, 100%. So yeah, that's the plan for Wednesday. That's our second collab for the week. And then Thursday, I told you guys we found a co-op partner for Resident Evil 5. I told you it was gonna happen. And I'm really, really excited that I finally get to say it's Shia. Shia is my co-op partner for Resident Evil 5 on Thursday. So very, very excited for that. We're going to be playing through all of Resident Evil 5 in one sitting. We're also going to be doing the Lost in Nightmares DLC, the one that's like a prequel to Resident Evil 5, because I feel like it better sets up RE5 as a story. So yeah, we're going to be doing that. Double Bunny Chaos with Shia and RE. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Team Bun, yeah. Now, can you guys guess who's going to be who? Who's going to be Chris and who's going to be Sheva? Can you guys guess? I want to see if you guys know. Am I playing the DLC first? Yes. So we are starting the Resident Evil 5 playthrough with the DLC because it is a prequel to RE5. It actually takes place right after Resident Evil Revelations. Okay, all right. Well, it's not very hidden. It's not very difficult to figure out. Yes, I am Chris, and Shia is Sheva. So we've got that already set up. Wow. I guess it wasn't that difficult to figure out. That's surprising. I'm going to say Chris so you can get art of you punching a boulder. I mean, listen, if someone wants to commission art of me punching a boulder, I definitely won't complain, but I'll probably look very silly because I'll just be like hot and sweaty and like my shirt getting ripped off as I'm like trying to punch a boulder, and it's like, Shia, help me punch this boulder, and he's just like staring at me or something. So it's going to be fun. But yes, I will be Chris. Shia will be Sheva. I think we're playing with costumes as well, because both Shia and I have played Resident Evil 5 before, so I think we both have all of the costumes, but we are going to be doing a playthrough on fresh weapons. That way it's like we still have a little bit of a challenge. We don't have infinite ammo weapons, like that kind of thing. We don't want to like cheat while we're going through. So hi Java, welcome in. But yeah, that's going to be super fun. Very excited for that. Friday, we're going to be continuing the Pokemon Y First Time Nuzlocke Challenge. Now, I do have good news about that, because I know last time we kind of ended a little bit more suddenly than I wanted to, because we were going to be met with a bunch of grinding. I was not happy with the amount of grinding that I was going to have to do in Pokemon X and Y. And now I don't think this is necessarily an issue with the game itself. You know, the game is built around using Pokemon centers. It's not Pokemon Y's fault. But because we're coming up on a gym that has, you know, fighting types, and Athena unfortunately died, so we can't use him anymore. And Uki I overleveled, who is a psychic or has psychic moves. So we can't use Uki either. So I am very, very sad. I'm very, very sad about that. So definitely have to use a bunch of rare candies, which we luckily did get working. So what we're going to do from this point forward with this Nuzlocke challenge is, before we fight the gym, we're going to sit down and we're going to strategize about how we're going to actually tackle the gym, because I think it's more fair and more fun if you play around and plan around the gym battles and like the rival battles and like the admins and like the big boss battles. It's more fun to play around those and trainer battles rather than like, oh man, let me go grind for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours. Because like that's not fun. It's not fun for me. It's not fun for you. I'd rather get right to the action. Yeah, I'd rather get right to the struggle of, oh God, I hope this hits, or oh God, I hope sleep powder works here, and making those strategies. So that is definitely where we're going to be going with it. Definitely look forward to it. It's going to be super, super fun. Yeah. Hello, everyone. What's up? Eggs good. Hope you're well. Hi. Welcome to the stream. And then, of course, on Saturday, I know you guys have been waiting for me to dive back into it. I just wanted to take a quick small break. That way we can have a little bit of time before, just diving into more of it. We're going to be finishing off A Date with Death. You guys have really, really, really been expressing that I need to try out the DLC, which is very exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah. Lots of things from RE4's early stages development that were reused in future games. Yeah, like the RE5 DLC, which we're going to be talking about. The first person who got it right. Oh, okay. Well, hey, welcome. We're glad to have you. Thanks for being here. It's annoying, but once you get to the battle manor, it becomes easier because you just face other trainers, but it can be difficult because you never know what level opponent you're facing. Well, we're not going to be going to the battle manor. We're only going to be doing story stuff in the Nuzlocke. So that'll be fun. But yeah, so we'll cap off the week with our A Date with Death DLC. So we'll go through hopefully the entire thing of the DLC. I think you guys said that was like a one stream thing, like it's a couple hours to get through. So we'll definitely be doing that. We'll have some fun with it. And then, of course, Sunday, if you guys were not with us yesterday in Discord, I do recommend checking out the Discord, !Discord, because every Sunday, at least for right now, we're watching Tokusatsu together. So we're starting off those sessions watching an episode of Kamen Rider Zetz. Kamen Rider Zetz. And then afterwards, we're watching a bunch of episodes of Bakuryu Sentai Aba Ranger, which is the source material for Power Rangers Dino Thunder. So if you're a fan of either of those, Kamen Rider Zetz, which is the current airing season, and yes, Zetz is off to a very strong start. I was very happy with how it started. Or if you're a fan of, Super Sentai, come vibe with us. It's going to be an awesome time. Great way to spend time with the community, especially off stream. So no pressure. Yeah, Aba Ranger has definitely been an experience. I will plainly admit that. I really, really hope that when Aba Killer shows up, that we have a better time. But I'm going to be super real. He's going to have to hard carry. If that's the case, he's going to have to hard carry. But yeah, that is the plan for this week. What are you guys most excited for? Are you guys most excited for tonight? Maybe the Resident Evil 5 stream with Shia, the Smasher Pass with Yomi, Smooching Ghosts with Nick, Papa, and Shia, more Nuzlocke. What are you guys looking forward to? Kovi, I missed last night. How did you enjoy the first episode of Zetz? It was really, really good. Oh, we really liked it. We watched it with the community. So, is all of the above an option? No. You have to choose. Choose, damn it. The Smasher Pass, nice. If you haven't already, don't forget to submit to it. Go have some fun. Smash and date? Oh, Smash and date. I didn't realize we were doing both. Well, it's crazy. That's very greedy of you. Dusk Bunny's greedy. I loved it too. I'm so excited to watch the rest of it. Yeah, Zetz is really, really good so far. That first episode was very, very entertaining, and I'm very excited to see where that is going to go in the future. Nick, Papa, and Shia, hell yeah. Yeah, I'm just excited to spend time with friends again. Oh, I can also confirm. I won't say when, because I don't want you guys to get to be counting other things, counting down the days for other stuff. We do have a new Power Ranger stream next week. So definitely look forward to that. So Power Ranger stream next week. Yeah. Power Ranger stream. He does have a villain laugh. I do? What do you mean? Are you going to play Outbreak? Probably not. Unless there's like a de facto super easy way of playing it. And I'd be able to get a squad together. I just don't want to do it. We might look into it after we finish the mainline games and just kind of like a go back and like, it's just hard, you know? It's hard. It's difficult. How can I choose between meeting someone new and Casper? Casper. You pick Casper or me or both of us. You have two hands, right? Yeah. So, but yeah. So next week, like I said, is the return of a certain crow and a certain knight. So very, very excited for that. It's going to be really, really cool. History of PR with VG1 and Papa was so much fun. Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really glad that that went so well. We are going to be looking into continuing that probably either end of this month or next month altogether. I'm trying not to like schedule them too close to each other, you know, but we don't want to overwhelm anybody. I did notice there aren't any Power streams this week. Yeah, it's just scheduling stuff, but there is the return, like I said, of Oshi Sentai V-Danger next week. So please look forward to that. It's going to be worth the wait. I promise you. We're going to be, doing something we haven't done yet. There's a video retrospective on Outbreak. Honestly, if there is, what I might do is just we set a day to watch that, especially before RE9 comes out. Because yeah, obviously RE9, Grace is the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft. So yeah, guess I got to get back to SPD then. Might be a good idea. I'm not telling you what we're doing, but it might be a good idea to finish SPD if you haven't already. All right, guys, what do you say we dive into the retrospective video for Resident Evil Revelations, shall we? Oh, I still have my Pokemon thing active. Let's go ahead and hide that. And then I got to move you guys back to... I got to move you guys back to the corner. Back to the corner you go, guys. Back to your corner. Back to your corner. Let's go ahead and move my vision, and I'll pull the video over. Close that. Pull this over, pull this here. Nice. And left monitor. All right. Papa really into it considering his terrible baking prowess. I wonder how he'll handle the Rangers getting baked into pizza. We've got a couple weeks, months before that. So, yeah. Yippee! Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited. Very, very excited. Very, very. All right, guys, let's dive into another retrospective video, this time on Resident Evil Revelations.
I want to love Resident Evil Revelations.
We are already of the same mindset. We are literally already of the same mindset. I feel like that sentence alone, I know your favorite son and I have the same mentality when it comes to this game. 100%. 4 seconds into the video, we're going to be in agreement. We're definitely going to be in agreement here.
Mainly because of the time that it was made in.
Yeah.
When the Resident Evil franchise was firmly planting its roots in the potent and profitable action-adventure soil.
Yeah,
Revelations decided it was going to attempt to make a horror game in that environment. The main franchise would eventually go back to horror itself, and Revelations was no longer needed. But the idea of a spin-off series trying to carry the original design philosophy through was something that really intrigued me on first glance.
100% agree. The whole idea with the Revelations series, because Resident Evil Revelations as a whole, the concept is that it was supposed to be an offshoot of the main series, because obviously Resident Evil, after Resident Evil 4, was very much moving into the direction of action and moving more and more away from horror. So instead of it being like, oh, horror survival, scary, spooky, skeletons, Halloween, it very much turned into action. And so they could continue some of the horror aspects and kind of pay homage to the roots of, classic Resident Evil. Revelations as a shoot-off was created. And unfortunately, we only got 2 games. We only got 2 Revelations games. We got Revelations 1, which initially came out on the 3DS and then was later ported to PS3 and modern consoles. And then we got Revelations 2, which was released episodically. It came out during a time of episodic games being very popular, like Telltale's The Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us, Batman, those types of games. And while I think Revelations 2, at least in memory, has aged well, at least, again, in memory, I don't think Revelations 1 has aged that well, which just is unfortunate, because I remembered really liking this game, and I remember in conversations people talking about it and being like very low on it, and I'm like, no, Revelations is at least like, a mid B at worst. And like, now that I've replayed it, I'm like, it's a mid C at best. It's rough. Yeah, it did not age well, unfortunately. So it seems like your favorite son and I are going to agree on this.
But I don't really love Resident Evil Revelations. I don't think it's a bad game. It's actually quite competent. And
it's rough.
In some areas,
C-
it's
for me.
impressive.
I think that's fair.
The atmosphere of the ship setting is well done.
Yeah.
One of the scariest places you can be is out in the open ocean, all alone. Throw mutated monsters into the mix and you have yourself a good time.
I mean, I think that's immediately one of the weak points of Revelations, is the monsters, the enemies that you have to deal with are kind of shitty. I think the bosses are standout. There's like 3 big bosses that you have to fight in this game, and I think all of them are pretty damn good. But the common enemies are pretty boring. They're just generic white blobs, and then sometimes kind of change. The barnacle enemies I think were cool too, but yeah, just concept wise were kind of annoying. And then they just threw in hunters because they were like, yes, hunters.
The structure is also similar to previous Resident Evil games. It doesn't have the fixed camera style, but we are getting keys and backtracking to different rooms to unlock new areas. For brief spots, it feels like a true Resident Evil title. But Revelations can't quite help itself. It has to dip its toe into the action genre as well.
It has to try.
The game takes us away from these horror moments to focus on other things, either in the past or parallel to the main plot of the game.
And those really hurt it too. I almost wished like the 3 stories that were going on were almost 3 separate campaigns, or that one led into another. Like maybe start with Jill and Parker so you get like the idea, then go to Chris and Jessica's, then go to Jill and Parker again, then go to Quint and... It's not Clive, is it? I don't even remember their names. Quint and... It's not Keith? Is it Keith? Quint and Keith? Keith, cool. That could have been better. I feel like if I want to be scared of the ocean, I'll play some Nautica. Yeah, because it's like being adrift at sea, while I do agree that is a scary notion, I don't think Revelations did a good job of making you feel like you were lost adrift at sea. It felt a lot more often that instead they were trying to give callbacks to like Resident Evil 1 with the Spencer Mansion, because a lot of the environments that you're constantly running into are very fanciful, very extravagant, almost mansion-like, especially like in the lobby areas, in the places that have like the emblem doors. It doesn't give like, oh, haunted ghost ship. It gives, this is a mansion that just happens to be on a ship. So the Spencer vacation boat. Yeah, exactly.
These sequences are usually faster-paced, linear sections that put the emphasis on the escape. Hordes of enemies cut down by your assault rifle-shaped scythe. These moments tend to take away from the horror that the game is trying to push. Its story is somewhat convoluted.
Very much so. I really, really, really wish that maybe they had dumbed down the story a little, because
though interesting,
rough.
it is just like its genre all over the place.
It is very
it
much
makes
so.
Similar mistakes to that of Resident Evil 6, introducing too many characters that mostly don't have an effect on the player.
Quite literally, so many of these characters do not matter and never show up for the rest of the franchise. Parker, despite surviving, never seen again. Raymond and Jessica are just gone in the wind because no one liked them as much as Ada. Freaking Keith and Quint also just gone. O'Brien, gone. The only characters that come back are Jill and Chris. And even then, Jill technically only comes back for one more game, and that's Resident Evil 5. And I only kind of count that because she's playable in both the DLCs, and that's it. You know, I don't even remember the boat swaying. I don't think I do either. Yeah.
They might have some surface level effect on the plot. They may advance characters or events forward, but they don't really speak to the person playing the game. Revelations is a bit like a Frankensteinian monster.
It really
there are
is.
Bits of this thing that work, appendages and patches of flesh that still pump blood.
Yeah.
And if struck, would manage to recover in a matter of days.
It's so funny too. That's such a good analogy, because it really does feel like Resident Evil Revelations had so many good moments that I really, really enjoyed. The investigation from Jill and Parker, especially, those kinds of things, because as they're investigating, I think where my peak interest was playing it blind the first time was when you're playing as Jill and Parker and the ship starts to fill up with water. It starts to flood on the inside. And then you're playing as Jessica and Chris, and you're trying to race to save them. And then you realize you're on the wrong freaking ship. You realize you're on the Queen Semiramis. And if they instead maybe made it so Chris and Jessica become trapped on the Semiramis, and now it's two simultaneous, like, ooh, both of these teams are trying to escape to get to each other, that could have been amazing. You know? Or if they were on the boat from the beginning, rather than in the random Arctic wasteland that they were in. It was so weird.
But the other parts are rotting and falling apart.
Yeah.
Hit them with a blunt object and they'd be sure to explode.
Yeah.
In a rain of blood and viscera.
Yeah, the Quentin Keith stuff, I think especially, is just completely unnecessary to the game. Then have them both get off the boat and end up on the other boat. The third boat, right.
So that's what I'm
the
going
Queen,
to be talking about
Dido?
today.
Was that what
I'll
it was?
be diving deep into Resident Evil Revelations,
I can't
talking
even
about
remember.
gameplay, mechanics, story, and every piece of functioning flesh in
Yes,
between.
all right, cool. Yeah, I
if you
couldn't
haven't seen
remember
my
for the life of
previous
me.
videos on the Resident Evil series,
We've seen them.
I'd highly recommend checking them out now. It's
Oh, technically, this did come out after every other main series video he did, so I'm hoping he doesn't spoil anything from his Resident Evil 5, 6, 7, or 8 videos, but this did come out after 5, but before 6, so fingers crossed.
not mandatory, but it will provide a lot of necessary
Crossed,
development
fingers crossed.
and design
Queen Dido,
context
cool,
for where
cool.
the series has come from.
Thank you.
If you enjoy this video, consider supporting the channel over on Patreon. I've been reviewing the Resident Evil movies over there, and it's been a great time. So if you want to see me torture myself by watching bad films, head to the link in the description.
Damn. He must be far enough into them now that the movies got bad, because I don't remember him calling them bad films before. But guys, yeah, of course, be sure to support your favorite son when you get the chance. They were so kind and gracious enough to let me react to their content live on stream. So big shout outs to them. Love the fact that we get to react to high quality lore videos like these. And I do hope to do more of these in the future, because they have a ton of them. You know, they got a ton of really cool lore videos. Like they did the Silent Hill stuff, which I'd love to do if the Silent Hill series was more easily accessible, but it is not. So maybe another series sometime. That'll be fun.
Hey, Dad, it's me,
Hey.
your favorite son.
Hey.
And today I'd like to talk about Resident Evil Revelations.
Hi, son.
If you're watching this channel, then...
Have I never seen him before? Have I never seen him before? Is this the first time I've seen him? This might be the first time I've seen him.
Odds are you're probably a fan of Remedy games, or at least the Alan Wake series.
Love Alan Wake.
I've made tons of videos on their projects in the past,
Oh.
and today I'm here to talk about something new. Lost in Cult, the company behind premium high-end deep dive books on games like The Outer Wilds,
Whoa, it's probably
and
the sponsor.
newly released Immortality Design Works,
Whoa.
has launched its biggest collaboration
Wow,
yet.
that's pretty cool.
The Alan Wake Design Works book, made
Never
in
seen your son.
collaboration with Remedy Entertainment. It's
Listen.
more than just an art book, it's a deep dive
Listen.
into the series,
Okay.
covering Alan Wake 1, 2, and even
I'm just being
American
respectful to
Nightmare.
his privacy.
There's new
okay?
insights, development
respectful to his
stories,
privacy.
concept art, and extensive developer interviews
Sure.
with Sam Lake, Mikhail Kasurinen, Ilka Villi, and Matthew Peretta.
Cool.
The list goes on and on.
We do like
the
Alan
deluxe
Wake in
edition
this
of the
house.
book, which is only
Alan Wake,
available
very
during
cool.
the pre-order campaign from August 18th to October 17th.
Oh, still
comes
open.
with a exclusive foil block
It does look really cool.
clamshell
I'm not gonna lie.
presentation box, the hardback book in a translucent wrap,
Gotta let
a
the
dust
advertisement
jacket
play.
based on the
How long does the
in-game
advertisement
return
go?
manuscript, and a treasure trove of extras.
God.
There's a
He's
ton
gonna go for
of
like another
stuff
minute.
with this deluxe edition. A Coffee World poster, an
Oh, I do
Oh
love
Dear
Coffee
Diner
World.
napkin,
I do love
crime
Coffee
scene
World.
Polaroids, bookmarks,
Was that name ringing a bell?
postcards,
Alan Wake
a full
came
Bright
out
Falls fold-out
in,
map,
like,
and a card signed by
2011,
actors Matthew Peretta and
2012.
Ilka Villi.
It was a
That's
360
both
exclusive at
halves
launch.
of Alan Wake
It's
himself
like
right there.
a
Perhaps
thriller
the thing I'm most
horror
excited for
action
is the
adventure
full
game.
manuscript
Really, really
of
cool.
Return,
Very
fully
cool
in
story.
print for the first
And then a
time.
second one
If you're
came
watching
out
this after the
2
campaign
years
has
ago,
closed on
and it
October
was
17th, or
a
you just
huge
want the
runner for
standard
Game of the
edition
Year.
of the book by itself, that version will remain available, but be quick on the deluxe edition. I honestly love stuff like this. I'm a huge fan of physical media, and just having these
physical media, good.
things in like a nice hard
I don't know why I'm being such a freak about this. This looks like the Power Rangers logo, but because it's blurred out, I don't think it is. And I'm like, are you a Power Rangers fan? Are you a Power Rangers fan, son?
for book that you can pull out and flip through is awesome. Lost in Cult's previous works as well are incredibly high quality, and they're all like must-haves. If you like this channel and deep dives into games in general, then you have to check this out. Also, Alan Wake feels like the best series for a thing like this because it's so tuned into the fine details. Like,
yeah, Alan Wake very
really matters.
Deep on lore,
like
deep on storytelling.
That with this.
So
show your support to the company and support
thank you, your
the
favorite
channel
son,
by using the code YourFaveSonAlan at lostincult.co.uk. Or just use the link in the description to get 5% off this brand new Alan Wake collection or anything from their amazing store right now. Now back to the video.
Hell yeah.
Resident Evil Revelations began development sometime around 2010. The basic idea for the game was to bring the series back.
Wait, development started then? Didn't Resident Evil 5 come out in like 2009, 2010? So it was in development after it came out. Whoa, I figured it would have started before that because it was for the 3DS.
To its horror roots.
Whoa.
Jun Takeuchi, a mainstay staff member for the Resident Evil series.
Oh, RE5 came out in 2011?
The original
Why
concept.
did I think it was 2009?
What if, for this title, we set it on a boat? Kawada recalled Takeuchi saying. Seeing it on a cruise ship, we'd be able to set it in a nice, scary atmosphere, similar to the original game.
I mean, it is creepy, but because like the environments are so like bland, you know, there's like no personality to these, and it's like occasionally you'll walk down and see like a white blob monster spawn out of nothing, you know.
After Resident Evil 4 and 5 had been released, though they were
like
successful,
these were like the best kinds of shots, the establishing shots, and then it like abandons it immediately as soon as Jill and Parker get kidnapped. It's like over.
Certain
And the slow movement. You're so real. RE5 is 2009? I thought so. It looks like a regular abandoned ship, yeah.
were more interested in the series when it was firmly planted in the survival horror genre.
Mm-hmm.
Since it had shifted to action, a lot of fans were clamoring for that lost style.
Mm-hmm.
The setting of a cruise ship was meant to create a constricted and scary atmosphere. Small hallways and tight corridors meant that the series would be moving away from the open areas of games like RE4 and 5. This was also an idea originally posed for Resident Evil 3 when it was still in a developmental flux. But RE Revelations was developed for the 3DS, and it was meant to be a 3DS game from the start.
Yeah.
Since the team was making a game for the handheld market, they wanted to ensure that they brought high-fidelity graphics, a terrifying scenario, and good gameplay to the fans.
It's still crazy to me that having played this game now, the Resident Evil on the 3DS is such a wild thing. Like not being deadly silenced, not being like an old pixel PS1 game, but like they made all of this. It's the RE4 RE5 engine on 3DS and then ported up into PS3. Parker's meh. Ironically, he did get a good amount of development, ironically, and he got a good amount of backstory, but like they just do nothing with him. You know what I mean? Because like as soon as Chris shows up with Jill, Parker's done. It's no longer Parker's show. It's Chris's show.
They made a point of not thinking of Revelations as just a handheld game. But Masachika Kawada, producer on Revelations, was adamant that there was an art to portable games, rather than just being a cash grab or a way to get more entries out of a franchise.
I agree, but I don't think Resident Evil should have been on handheld. I genuinely think this was a mistake. I fully believe that this was a mistake. Also, the fact that it's like this is like an advertising point, and this is the first time that Terra Grigia has ever been mentioned. It's not like it's this big looming mystery in the Resident Evil franchise. It's not like where's Wesker? Where's Oswald E. Spencer? We've never seen Spencer. Like, where's Spencer? We've never seen I don't know. We haven't seen Billy again. We haven't seen Carlos again. What did Wesker do with Steve? Who's the organization that Ada's working for? Like, there's so many other unanswered questions that they were like, what if we just made up a question that you guys didn't ask us?
He specifically cited the fact that Japanese design had many cultural tricks to make things more efficient. We tend to take pride in the fact, at least we think, that we have some skill in being able to pack this variety of elements that hopefully people can really enjoy in this satisfactory and pretty way into a very small package. The same goes for developing games onto portable hardware. This was specific.
So it's funny that they say that too, because I will give credit where credit is due. Revelations being a game on 3DS, kind of insane. The game has so much like jam packed into it. And I maybe it's just because I'm underestimating how strong the 3DS actually was, but like a game like Revelations running on the 3DS consistently, like at a good frame rate at an actual playable point is weird. Like that's crazy to think about.
Specifically in reference to the art of Makonuchi Bento, the small Japanese boxes stored with lunch food made to be portable. He also referenced nimosaki, or double cropping, which is the practice of cultivating two crops on the same land within different time periods in the year. How does this relate to the development of Resident Evil Revelations, you ask? Well, the team was designing Resident Evil The Mercenaries 3D.
I forgot that was a separate release
for the 3DS right before Revelations.
And quite literally was just I think just an asset flip from Resident Evil 5. Yeah. It's interesting they decided to do it on 3DS after other attempts like Gaiden and the Game Boy and one's version on the DS. Yeah, Deadly Silence. Mercenaries 3D was a game that existed. Yeah.
They developed essentially 2 games for the same system, one after the other, using a lot of the same tech. Mercenaries 3D actually allowed them to get used to the 3DS hardware and iron out a lot of the issues that they had. Revelations was developed on MT Framework, the engine that was the precursor to the RE engine, but a lot of work had to be done to port the system for use in the handheld device.
I guess technically if they were doing 2 games on the console, they'd probably have twice as much people looking into how they could make the engine work. But yeah, the MT engine was RE4 up through RE6. So did Hunk just stab a kid? Nah, that was an infected villager, question mark.
Developing...
Notice how... Wait, can I just point out? It's not Sheva. It's immediately back to Jill. This is literally... I think Kijuju is the name of the village in RE5. And it's immediately back to Jill. It's not even Sheva. Sheva was literally in this game. And Capcom's immediately like, Sheva who? Damn. Not even Capcom. Yeah, who's Sheva? Exactly. It's pretty insane.
Framework. The system, the team needed to find a way to make the game easily digestible for playing portably in small chunks.
Yeah. Worse, it was stripped down version of the Mercenaries. It was also where they tried to nerf Hunk by making him a goofy knife guy. Ew. Gross.
Handheld players didn't tend to play for long, extended periods, so the team decided to give the game an episodic structure.
And we talked about this during the game because it was developed as a handheld game. They wanted people to be able to play in short bursts and finish it over time. Doesn't RE5 get called racist a lot? Yeah, but RE4 doesn't, and it blows my mind. You know? RE4 praised as one of the greatest games of all time, not just Resident Evil games, but just greatest games of all time. RE5, that's racist. You can't do that.
Not dissimilar to a TV show. Because of this episodic structure, they had to rethink the characters, though, and try to include some characters that they wouldn't have originally considered for an RE game. The game was eventually revealed at E3 2010. Resident Evil Revelations was released on January 26th, 2012 in Japan, January 27th, 2012 in Europe, and February 7th, 2012 in North America.
I do, however, remember when Revelations first came out, there was a misprinting on the box, on the spine cover for the 3DS game, where it was Revelaitons. So it was Revelaitions, and it was just like a O. Oh my gosh.
All for the Nintendo 3DS.
With RE4, it's a non-disclosed European country. No, it's Spain. No, it's Spain. They're speaking Spanish. It's Spain. Like, what European country speaks Spanish? It's Spain. It's Spain. Yeah, Revelaitons. Yeah, there you go. They misspelled their company name. It's I don't think I knew that one. Yeah.
The game was also released the next year on Windows, PS3, Wii U, and Xbox 360.
Oh, it was the next year. I didn't realize that.
And would be ported to next-gen consoles in 2017.
They never say it's Spain. It's just no other country in Europe is majority Spanish. That's what I'm saying. It's definitely Spain.
I actually played the PC version of the game for this review.
I did too.
It's not drastically different from the original version of the game,
yeah.
Aside from the fact that in the 3DS version, you can control the menus with the bottom screen. There is some additional content in the PC and console versions, mostly in that of extra weapons and outfits, but it's mostly the same game.
It's all just like cosmetic stuff or like stuff for raid mode. How do they manage that? So many people probably had to look at it. The typing errors, absolutely. Spain is technically European, Southern European for specifics. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was very obviously Spain, but nobody cared, and then everybody cared that it was Africa. That's what I'm saying. There shouldn't have been a double standard. People should have cared that it was Spain, but they didn't. RE4 is, considered a god amongst games. I'm not saying RE5 is a god amongst games. Don't get me wrong. Do not twist it. I'm just saying they're both egregious in that regard. You know, RE5 had people dress in grass skirts and armed with spears as a side effect of less plot. Well, Ouroboros, yeah. There's a reason why I wonder if that virus was racially driven. I don't think I can answer that properly. It's been too long since I've played RE5. From what I understand, they explain it in story that there's actually a group of people that lived by the flower that Umbrella stole and regularly consumed the flower and were obviously infected by what it had in it, the virus that it had in the flower. But like, the virus didn't make them wear that. They told a story about it in other games where they were like, yeah, we drove out the natives so we could steal their flower. You know? I would like to know which RE4 enemy type could go blow for blow with an RE5 enemy types. I jest a little bit. Ooh, bad optics for Capcom. I don't disagree with that at all. Yeah, I'm not trying to defend either one. I'm just saying it always weirded me out that nobody cared that RE4 was in Spain in the way that it was, but everybody freaked out that RE5 was in Africa in the way that it was. That always weirded me out.
Since Resident Evil 4 and 5 had taken a shift more towards action, Resident Evil Revelations represents a return to horror for the series. Of course, a few things in this game go against this design ideology.
Yes, it does.
There will be points where the game descends into large action set pieces, but it's more rare than the moments where the game favors atmosphere and tension.
Agreed. However, these moments where you get knocked down and like the partner covers you and like you're like, oh, I have to shoot a bunch of enemies to stop myself from, you know, getting hit. Yeah.
Despite this, the game sports a third-person over-the-shoulder camera.
Yeah.
Of course, like many other games in the series, our resources are restricted. We only get ammunition from the environment. We use healing herbs to refill our health bar, though we no longer combine them to create greater strengths or different effects.
Yeah, it's just a heal.
An interesting note about the gameplay for Revelations is that it is one of the first games in the series to feature the ability to shoot and move at the same time.
Which I think you needed for Revelations. There were a lot of fights and situations because you're such in close quarters that you need to be able to move because like the movement speed is so bad anyway. The movement speed in Revelations is actually one of my biggest complaints. You're so fucking slow. And the transition time between rooms and even like massive areas was so long that like backtracking felt terrible. So like they want you to backtrack and the backtracking is bad.
Technically, the first game to allow you to do this was Outbreak File Number 2, but we'll talk about that game in a different video. This choice was a big one at the time, especially because fans of the series had been hoping that the mainline entries would give them this ability. This was an issue with Resident Evil 5 when it was originally revealed, but Revelations decided to include the feature right out of the gate.
Yep.
This was a hard decision for the team because they felt moving and shooting would reduce some of the horror that the game presented. They got around this by decreasing the player's movement speed a bit and increasing the movement of the enemies.
Yes, you're always faster than enemies. You're always faster than enemies. But because they don't want you moving too fast, because that would be bad, you feel slow.
Giving them the ability to dodge shots more often. This was a way to offset the action byproduct that was created from the gameplay change.
A mansion at sea.
This works pretty well in Revelation's case, especially since we have the over-the-shoulder camera and the closer...
Yeah, like, look at this room. Look at this room we're in. This is like a display room where, like, fancy stuff is in. How, like, this is what I meant where, like, it feels like a mansion at sea. This is where I 100% agree. Like, this is a mansion at sea. So Sun will do Outbreak. Oh, maybe. Hey, Ash, take care. Have a good night.
More confined environment of the ship.
Yeah.
The game is horror-focused for the most part, though.
For the most part.
We will spend a lot of our time aboard the Queen Zenobia cruise ship. Moving through its hallways, we'll often be greeted by the sounds of enemies around the corner, waiting to attack. The atmosphere is
Sweet
really
life on
well
deck.
done in
That's
this entry,
crazy.
and I did often find it scary when it was trying to be. The structure of the game in general really feels like the classic Resident Evil games, just without the fixed camera.
Yeah, and I do think they do capture that a lot of the time. But that's where I was saying, like, it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a haunted, derelict cruise ship. It feels like you're on a mansion at sea. I feel like unless you're like diving underwater or dealing with like the mechanical aspect, I feel like it misses some of the steps of it being like a cruise ship. Unless I just haven't been in a cruise ship in forever. This just doesn't feel like a cruise ship to me.
A lot of the game is about solving puzzles
You
or
know?
grabbing key items and unlocking new areas of the ship. The game expands its scope in some different areas that weren't my favorite, but we'll talk about those when we get to the story.
Yeah, like the Parker flashbacks and just fighting endless hordes of hunters.
We are outfitted with a variety of weapons across the course of the story, but inventory management
Shoot
is a little
gun.
different in this game than it was
Shoot
in
gun.
previous entries. We can carry as many items as we want. The only thing that we're really restricted on are our weapons.
Which was very frustrating. 3 felt like a really odd number. They should have let you have, I think, one of every weapon type. 1 pistol, 1 machine gun, 1 shotgun, 1 magnum, one sniper. I mean, there's only 1 sniper in the game anyway. But or put the rifle in the same category as the assault rifle. And like I feel like I shouldn't have to choose between those. But I mean, the game's balanced around it, so whatever.
We can only carry 3 weapons at a time, but thankfully,
Yeah.
if we pick up a new weapon, then we can
It's like Resident Evil
obtain
6
it
weapon
or
system.
our
Ironically, yes.
old one at any time from
Yeah.
an item box. Item boxes are no longer for storing extra key items, healing items, etc. It's more singularly focused on weapons. While we can switch out weapons in item boxes, we can also upgrade them here.
Love the weapon upgrade system. I think the custom parts and the illegal custom parts to mix and match and tailor to the ammo situation that you have, or to even just the weapons that you like, I think was really smart, really fun, made for some really interesting weapon decisions, and gave a lot of different weapon types value. You know, charge shot pistol, charge shot shotgun, burst fire pistol, burst fire machine gun. You know, making crazy firing speed rifle, crazy firing speed shotgun. There's a lot of crazy stuff that you could do in Revelations, and I think the weapon system was ironically one of the more creative ones.
Upgrading weapons requires custom parts, which can be found in a variety of different ways throughout the game. We can get them from defeating particularly difficult enemies, or we can find them hidden in the environment.
The Parker flashbacks felt like a bit of a slog sometimes and misplaced. Yeah, because like you do the one thing with Parker where him and Jessica escape. And I was kind of okay with that. That way we kind of had a better understanding about what Terra Grigia was and what happened. But the fact that it was like it should have just had the Raymond part first, and then immediately after it should have been the Parker and Jessica part. You know, it should have been back to back. And I really, really, really don't understand why it wasn't that. It genuinely did not make sense to play a flashback of a flashback in that regard. It was so stupid. I like the grenades in this game. The grenades were pretty nice too. Having like the BOW decoys, the shock grenades, the pulse grenades, which gave you a guaranteed stun and melee. Really cool. Love this game. I hate the flashbacks, and I meat right this game heavy. I get that so much, because before I replayed it last week, I definitely was like, nah, man, people are just haters. They're just hating on this game for no reason. It's way worse than I remembered it being.
The custom parts
Way
all have
worse.
a different attribute, and they can be equipped to the weapon to add that modifier. These can increase our damage, fire rate, or magazine capacity, among many other things.
Yeah, and then the special
I actually
stuff
really
too.
liked this system and felt
Me
that it was
too.
a good way to provide progression in lieu of the treasure system or general weapon upgrades that something like Resident Evil 4 had.
Big agree. Literally just said all of this.
It provides good rewards for those that are actively exploring the environment and trying to get into the optional areas of the ship. For the most part, it also lets you customize your weapons the way you want and tailor your playthrough to your style.
Literally what I was just saying.
Combat in general is pretty much the same as any of the other over-the-shoulder Resident Evil games of this time. We can shoot enemies, targeting their head or weak spot to do more damage. We can do melee attacks if we manage to stun enemies and get close enough, dealing big damage and also saving us valuable ammunition.
I will say, though, they talked about the enemy movement speed before and like player character movement speed. I understand it's supposed to be for like design and flair and to make the enemies feel more alive or realistic. I hate how much the enemies sway. The enemies like jittering around feels so off-putting, and I think the majority of my misses were going for headshots, and they would just like be like weaving accidentally. It was always super frustrating. So that's just a me thing, and obviously it's a get good kind of thing, you know. Welcome back, Umineko.
I think for the most part, I thought that the combat was pretty smooth in this game.
Yeah.
There were some complaints that the characters move a little slow, which is valid.
I agree.
Because I noticed this when playing the game as well.
Yup.
But in all fairness, if we moved any faster, the game would probably be far too simple.
Just give me the Ditman. Where's my Ditman?
And it
That's
would
all I'm
reduce
saying.
a lot of the horror that the game presents.
I'm just saying, give me
a lot of
Ditman.
the horror in this game comes from the fact that we can't just run away quickly, and missing a shot means that we're losing distance between us and the enemy. The game also sports a new dodge feature, allowing you to time a button press with an enemy's attack to slip out of the way of their swipes. I'm not sure if this was just the PC version of the game, but I absolutely could not get this to work.
I eventually found the timing for it, and it felt fine once I got it. I wish there was a dedicated dodge button instead of... Because it's either press up, like to move into the attack, or it's like back and X, which is quick turn, at the same time to dodge, I think, away. And it felt really, really weird at times. And eventually I did get it. I did. But it definitely felt weird, and I wish there was a dedicated just dodge button. So
I saw some other people online talk about similar issues, but it was just so random. Part of the issue is that the dodge key is mapped to the W key.
Yeah.
Meaning that we have to move forward into the dodge to pull it off.
Yup.
But I found so many moments where I accidentally dodged when I wasn't trying to,
Yep.
or moments when I didn't dodge and I was trying to.
Yep. And that's kind of what I was saying. Yeah, the fact that there's no dodge button is weird. I think they were doing this because obviously 3DS, they didn't really have the ability to like bind it to a different button, because I'm pretty sure the majority of the majority of everything is used, you know, in terms of buttons from the 3DS perspective. So they were trying to make it something that would be making sense. But it ended up feeling really awkward. And at times, honestly, the dodge also felt overpowered. But then it was also like, I think just because I was coming off of playing Resident Evil 4 Remake with the knife parry, it also feels underpowered. So I was like, man, obviously like difference of 10 years between those games, but like, holy crap, dude. Dodge felt simultaneously amazing and useless at the same time. They made that special second stick add-on for the 3DS too. I forgot about that. It was like to fit in your hands better, right? I did always complain about that. The 3DS never fit in my hands well, because like, not that I don't have big hands, but like, I'd always get hand cramps trying to hold the 3DS for longer than like a half hour. Yeah.
The other large new system that Revelations introduces is the Genesis scanner. We get this piece of equipment pretty early on in the game. It's a new device that the BSAA has developed to collect data. We can use it on enemies or the pools left by their dead corpses to increase our analyze meter. When we manage to fill this, we get a free healing item. You are encouraged to scan as many enemies as you possibly can because you're getting free
Healing.
items.
Yeah,
so why
free
wouldn't
healing.
you? You can also use the device to search for hidden objects in the environment. These items are ones that you wouldn't be able to pick up otherwise.
Things like ammo, I think occasionally they're key items and they make you do it, but it's usually like ammo, grenades, healing items, things like that.
Again, this is sort of another way to reward players with a more patient and detail-focused playstyle to get more resources. I really like this mechanic in theory, but in the actual game it has a lot of issues.
Yes.
Because you get so many rewards for using it, you sort of have to. You don't have to, but there are just so many hidden items in every room that it behooves you to look for them.
Well, I like that. It behooves you. Yeah, like how many times did you guys see me like playing the game and it'd be like I'd walk a couple steps, pull out the Genesis, walk a couple steps, pull out the Genesis. Like how often was I doing that? Because it felt like I did it all the time. Circle Pad Pro wouldn't exist until whenever the Monster Hunter game was made. Some games retroactively added support, but it often just made it a replacement C-stick rather than a right circle pad to the existing left one. Oh, interesting.
If you skip this step, then you're just leaving perfectly good items behind for no reason.
Yeah.
But having to stop in every single room to scan the area for hidden items, or even stopping every time that you kill an enemy to get the analysis data, just really kills the pacing in some parts.
Yes, and this is what I was talking about before, because the game already feels slow because your movement speed is so slow, and because the door transitions are so slow, and because when you're going into different areas, especially on the ship, it's so slow. The game has a terrible slowdown issue. You are constantly stopping the game for what seems like no reason, and it's so frustrating.
It takes you out of the world and teleports you into this detective scanner plane that honestly doesn't tonally mesh very well with this entry. It wouldn't be the worst.
What if there's any speedruns for this game? Oh, absolutely. There's gotta be. Given how it sounds like the game made you a Pokemon Snap mechanic. Oh, it kind of did. Yeah, I'd be surprised if there was. Yeah, it's Resident Evil.
Thing in the world if it was used for some story beats. Maybe we need to track a blood trail through the ship and have to use it at different intersections to figure out where to go. That would be nice because the scanner wouldn't be present so much, and it would effectively be a story mechanic only.
Wait a minute. That never happens, does it? Not even for the Rachel part. You just get to her body and it's gone. Oh. Or like if by scanning enemies you also eventually did more damage to them, or like research different types of ammo. Wow. Yeah.
Because we're sort of forced into it to get more ammo and healing though, it's present for much of the game and just feels like it gets in the way. I don't mind the mechanic in general, I just think it would have worked better in a different game.
I agree.
In Resident Evil Revelations will also often be accompanied by a partner. These partners change as we play a lot of different characters and combinations of those characters throughout the course of the game.
I also complained about this because it should have just been a co-op game. Resident Evil 5 already existed at this point. They already knew how to make co-op work in this game engine because it's the same engine as RE5. I understand that it was on the 3DS and probably limited, but there is quite literally a partner with you the entire game. The entire game.
But this is by far the simplest implementation of an AI companion in the series so far. We don't really have to worry about the companion dying or providing them with resources. They also don't take resources from the environment. They're just sort of there to help us defeat enemies. They are somewhat okay. They will often just stand there and fire shots at enemies, which is exactly what they should do. Every once in a while, though, they'll get stuck on some part of the environment and just sort of walk for infinity. It's pretty rare, though, and honestly, the lack of problems with the partner AI is pretty shocking.
Yeah, I will agree. Very rarely did I actually have issues with the AI partner. They would get hit occasionally, but I never had the AI partner die. I saw them getting kills pretty often, especially Jessica with her sniper rifle, which was awesome. But yeah, but it like almost makes me even more mad that it's like if the AI partner and the game is designed this well around your partner working like this, why not just make it co-op?
Especially considering the level of fidelity that the game has on a handheld console.
Yeah.
Overall, the gameplay for Revelations is pretty good. The combat system feels smooth. Most of the ship-focused sections are full of tension and fear. The atmosphere is very well done, and environments look really good. I actually enjoyed a lot of the fake items in the game, the drink dispensers and
Oh,
vending
yeah.
machines.
Yeah, those are cool to see, like, in those areas. But, like, this is what I mean. It feels almost at times like you're in a hotel rather than being on a cruise ship. Because, like, this kind of stuff, I'm like, this I could see being in a hotel, but not in, like, a cruise ship.
Slots in the casino. The game has some pretty great lighting as well for something that was originally on the 3DS. But now it's about time that we talk about the story of Revelations.
It's time.
The game begins at
Okay. Before we dive into the story, I do have to use the bathroom. I've been drinking so much more water recently because I've been getting like way more into my workout routine. So I do apologize. I'll be right back, guys. I'm going to use the bathroom. We'll continue in just a sec, okay? Okay. Sorry about that, guys. My bad. Let's get back to the goodness, shall we? Don't fall into the toilet. No promises. Okay, no promises, all right? I'm trying my best out here. I'm trying my best. Doing my best, all right? Welcome back,
6:08
thank you.
p.m. on the Mediterranean Sea.
Thank you.
Jill is on a small
I brought
skiff
water.
heading through the waves towards the much larger Queen Zenobia.
Mm.
She has a companion with her, a new character that we'll learn more about later. His name is Parker
Hey, get some good
Luciani.
sleep.
Resident Evil Revelations actually takes place in between Resident Evil 4 and 5.
It's like
so
2000
Jill and Chris haven't quite yet had their traumatic experience at the Spencer estate.
7, 8.
As our two characters reach the ship, they find a grappling point and board
I can't
the boat.
remember the exact
They are looking
year.
for Chris and Jessica. They were out completing a mission for the BSAA when they dropped off the radar, and their last known coordinates put them on this ship.
Immediately though, it just feels weird, right? Because it's like, who the hell is Parker? You know, like you start the game and it's got like no lead in whatsoever. You have no idea who Parker is. You have no like attachment to him whatsoever. And sure, you see Jill, which is dope, you know, Jill's back, that's cool. But it's like, oh, Chris is missing. That's what we're looking for. But like, who's Jessica? Who the hell's Parker? You know? Why wasn't it just like, hey, Claire went missing. Chris, Jill, go find her. You know? Easy.
Making our way into the ship,
Would've
we
been so
immediately
easy.
see signs of trouble. Bodies litter the halls, and an ooze is pouring out of the ducts.
We have no what about the BSAA? So the BSAA, the only game that we had with them at this point was Resident Evil 5. But this takes place before Resident Evil 5. So there's no Sheva yet. Oh, and Josh. But like, we don't know them yet. They're in Africa's branch of the BSAA. And the only BSAA people that we know are Jill and Chris. And instead of putting them together, which I think would have been smart, we're instead separated. I think they did that so we would care more about Jill looking for something. But even then, they could have just been like, hey, we've heard reports that there was a secret Umbrella lab on this ship. Jill, Chris, go take a look. Chris.
A body quickly pops out of the vents. Whatever happened here, we're far too
Could have been
late to
cool
save
following
any
up
of
on
the
a lead.
victims. Jill and Parker quickly find a grate, and Jill notices a weapon among the muck. As she reaches down to grab it, she realizes that it's attached to a hand. Luckily, it isn't Chris's arm.
Luckily.
But we quickly see the group is being watched, and an enemy attacks.
Wow.
This is our first
Crazy.
foe of the game, the ooze.
The
While
ooze.
I don't like the name, I don't really mind the design of the ooze. They are infected, just like any other Resident Evil fodder monster,
Yeah,
but they're sort of bloated and waterlogged.
I don't hate this design. It's just like when you compare it to the one that has like the blades, the one that has like the projectile, they're just kind of bland, like over the course of the game.
It feels like
They're not like the molded from Resident Evil 7, I think are worse than this, to be fair. I just thought Jill recognized that it wasn't Chris by the gun. I'm going to be real, probably, because Chris, I think, also has a samurai edge from, you know, Raccoon City, you know? The way you said Parker was like the same way. And he said when he found out Peter Parker, Spider-Man in 2007, Parker.
these enemies fit with the ship
no
theme
edge, yeah.
and mesh with the
What's up,
environment that
Crochet?
we're currently in. They use general swiping attacks to try and hit us, but they sway back and forth quite a bit, making headshots difficult to pull off.
Yes.
I often just resigned myself to shooting the body in a panic because the enemy was closing distance, and I definitely didn't want to get hit.
That is usually what I did too. And it's a complaint of mine, but it's also it's like literally just please just stop swaying as much. Maybe just don't have the knockback on the headshot. Like be guaranteed. But like, yeah, it's just
Jill and Parker
it was a
take
get
out
good
this
moment.
monster and
It's definitely a
realize
get
that the
good.
situation aboard the ship is worse than they could have imagined.
Worse than they could have
This ends
imagined.
The first chapter.
They should
of
have had
the
an
game.
apple.
Resident Evil Revelations, as I said before, has an episodic structure, lending itself to handheld play in short bursts rather than the longer play sessions. I actually really enjoyed this structure. There are even recaps in between each full episode that bring you up to speed in case it's been a while since you played.
I never hated them. Some episodes feel so goddamn short. So goddamn short. That it's like, why was this a separate episode? Especially the Quentin Keith ones. They're like, I think one of the Quentin Keith episodes was 2 minutes. Not even exaggerating.
It reminded me of something like Alan Wake and how the game attempts to actually feel like a season of a TV show. One thing that I didn't like is that the episodes are further broken into chapters. These chapters are far shorter and require you to interact with an end screen in between each one of them, allowing you to save if you'd like. It just breaks up the game a bit too much for my liking. I would have preferred if we got this screen only when the episode was finished, but again, this probably would have went against the design philosophies that the team had in mind.
The idea was so that they could make it in like 20, 30, maybe even 40-minute bursts for people that were playing handhelds. Because handheld culture, obviously in Japan, very different than in the West. So I'm pretty sure that's what they wanted. So if people were like on the train for like 20, 30, maybe 40 minutes, they could play an episode, play a chapter, save, be done.
From here on out, I will note the end of episodes, but not the end of chapters, because they just come far too frequent. The next chapter begins with a news report that sort of sets up the backstory of the game. The newscaster is presenting a sort of retrospective report on the city of Terra Grigia, the world's first aquapolis and floating city. The city itself was incredibly futuristic, covered in solar panels and fully harnessing the energy of our nearest star.
It does look really cool. I'm not going to lie. Like, they set it up to look really freaking cool. The Quentin Keith episodes felt like a little like they were supposed to be comic relief in a sense, but I liked them. I didn't dislike Quentin Keith's comedic aspect. I just always disliked how jarring the episodes felt, because it would be like, man, something really drastic and dire is happening with Jill and Parker. Switch to Quentin Keith. Yeah, I stalked Jessica on her way home. Isn't that quirky and fun? You know what I mean?
A satellite in the sky would even reflect the sunlight back to the city. In 2004, this all ended when a terrorist group called Veltro, who opposed the development of the city, released a virus upon its citizens, in addition to many BOWs. These weapons caused havoc throughout the streets, absolutely obliterating its population.
Like, where did they get hunters? This is so many hunters. How did you find this many hunters? What's up, Raven? What's up? Underhill! Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Hi. What's up, sweetie? Hi.
The FBC was called in to deal with the situation. The FBC is not the Federal Bureau of Control, but the Federal Bioterrorism Commission.
Yeah.
They are specifically American anti-bioterrorism organizations, whereas the BSAA is an organization sanctioned by the UN. The BSAA was brought in to assist the FBC. Headquarters eventually decided that the only way to deal with the situation was to use the solar energy matrix on the city, turning the satellite in space into a massive weapon that leveled Terra Grigia.
Which is such a wild thing. But the important distinctions here again is FBC is American. They're their own anti-bioterrorism unit. BSAA is sanctioned by the UN and global, and was less anti-bioterrorism and more let's like study the world, make sure that things are preserved properly, and that people don't investigate or don't develop bioweapons. It wasn't like let's fight bioweapons. It was let's make sure maybe these people don't fuck around with, you know, viruses in labs and things like that. So where are the zombies? Good question. Not in this game.
The event is now known as the Terra Grigia Panic. This was officially the end of the terrorist group called Veltro. Revelations takes place a year later, in 2005, and the Terra Grigia Panic is sort of the foundation or bedrock that the story takes place on.
Wait, this takes place in the same year of Resident Evil 4? Wait, no duh, the freaking president's daughter got kidnapped if the FBC was like out dealing with this bullshit. President's probably like, holy crap, a whole city just got destroyed by a satellite laser after they got attacked by bioterrorists? Man. Oh no, my daughter's gone. Like, okay, that makes more sense.
The The news broadcast then cuts off, and the story cuts back a few days to Jill and Parker meeting with Clive O'Brien, the head of the BSAA.
O'Brien.
They're on the same beach outside of where the now sunken city of Terra Grigia lays. Strange carcasses have begun washing up on the shore. We're introduced to the Genesis here, the new device that allows us to scan life forms.
It's still
and
really
items.
weird. Wait, does that mean Umbrella's response to being taken off the stock market was to attack a city? No. So Umbrella is not Veltro. Veltro is like literally just a terrorist organization that had nothing to do with Umbrella. I don't think it's ever actually explained where what's his name? The head of the FBC, whose name I can't remember. I don't think it's ever explained where he got everything, but they were supplied, you know? I thought that was a giant massive excrement. Surprise. No.
We're tasked with scanning
Veltro's a
strange
non-entity.
corpses around the beach.
Morgan Lansdale,
Eventually,
thank you.
Jill finds a vial of liquid inside one of them, possibly a new virus. Some of the beach blobs begin moving, and we have to fill them with bullets to bring them down.
And fill
Once
them
we
is
gather
right.
enough data,
It's like 20 handgun bullets. It's crazy.
we return to Clive. The results of the scan prove the corpses were infected with some sort of virus. Clive then gets a call
Guessing I
telling
missed a
him
lot.
that Chris and
Yeah.
Jessica have disappeared.
We're pretty into the video. We're
This is how the whole mission
25 minutes
started,
into the video
and
now.
why Jill and Parker were sent to find them anyways.
Lansdale wanted to show the world the threat of bioterrorism. Oh, we will get to that. Yeah, we're not talking about that right now. We will get to that part of the story though. Yeah, I thought O'Brien was going to be an idiot just because of the way he looks. I mean, he's a dumbass. I don't think I would say idiot, but dumbass feels correct. Dumbass absolutely feels correct. Yeah, I agree.
The game actually does this a lot. It bounces back and forth, sometimes giving us brief episodes in the past. Sometimes they're necessary to establish the story, but other times they're just a bit random.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because like the randomness of some of the episodes really feels frustrating, you know, because man, we talked about this already with like the flashbacks to Terra Grigia. I don't mind them. I mind their placement and where they fit in the story.
As a general point of criticism, I do wish this game stayed aboard the ship for the entire entry.
I agree. I 100% agree. I think it would have been way more fun to fully explore the ship, to continue finding rooms that were locked off, like we have in like Resident Evil 1. You know, like guardhouse is cool. You know, the secret lab is cool. Mines are cool. They could have just kept doing that, you know?
I think if it would have, it honestly could have been an amazing RE spinoff.
I agree. 100. We're on the same page. Your favorite son and I we're on the same page.
It bounces around so much off the ship in present day to cover other characters, back in time to establish backgrounds.
Yep.
And it just leaves the main story on the ship not feeling as important as it could be.
Yep. And that was my big complaint too. Despite the ship being the main story, like Jill is the main character of this game. Jill and Parker, to some degree, you know. There's only so much you can stuff onto a boat, I feel like. I mean, they did put a secret air quotes, underground lab in it.
It also makes you just want to be back on the ship, because that's the really fun part of the game.
Yeah.
We jump back to the ship, checking in again with Jill and Parker. We quickly find Chris tied to a chair in another room, and Jill is tasked with heading through the ship to find a key to this room.
I like how they can just tell it's Chris. Like, damn, I recognize that sweaty hunk of muscle anywhere. Ooh.
Room.
You know,
we weave through the bathrooms, bunks, and hallways, eventually coming across a door marked with an anchor, noting that this entry also has the classic themed keys that give us access to different areas of the main environment.
Now, I liked this in concept. In execution, this feels freaking terrible, because here at the beginning of the game is like the only time you see these doors. And then the other times you see the doors is like, oh, I found a door. And then 3 seconds later, you find the key. And there's not as much backtracking with it. And it feels kind of like, oh, you know?
We eventually stumble upon a woman being eviscerated by the ooze monsters.
Oh, yeah, she gets bodied.
We can take them down, but we're too late to save her. So we just take the key instead.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. When Jill and wait, did I just find a plot hole? You know when you come back and you find Rachel's diary where she's like, man, one of those fuckers hit me. I lost an eye. And like it like details the transformation, and it's like very morbid, very grotesque, you know, very gruesome. Isn't it like explained as in like over multiple hours kind of thing? I feel like not enough time passes for her to have like made all those journal entries and then to get to this point, right? Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but because like I know Jill and Parker get like gassed and then they put in other rooms, but like, what, she spent that whole time writing in a book instead of finding help? Yeah, like she's here with Raymond. Raymond was her partner. That's I don't know. I'm thinking about that now. That's weird, right?
Opening to the door where Chris is trapped, we find out that this isn't Chris at all.
I'm almost curious if we can find it. Wait, I'm actually hella curious. RE Revelations, Rachel's diary. Yeah, there's no time frame to it, but it does very much go like, I was forced on this mission. I have no desire to come here for a job that would have killed me. Blah 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 blah. Found the UAV. Blah 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 blah. Head feels like it's gonna split open. I lost an eye already. It's hard to see. I feel like crap. Arms are starting to feel weird too. Right arm split into two. Blood all over my body. Can see my bones. Need doctor bad. It's like, that seems so fast, right? She did get up and she was down an eye by this point. She was 50 Shades of fucked either way. Was she missing an eye already at this point? That's where I was like, oh.
But a dummy made to trap Jill and Parker in this room. The two are gassed, and a masked man shows up before our two heroes pass out. The next episode begins following Chris and Jessica as they are trekking through a snowy
Would have gone by now.
They're on a BSAA mission to find a Veltro camp on the other side of the peak. As they walk up the mountain, though, they see a plane crash off in the distance.
No, because there's literally another diary entry that is Itchy Tasty. Quite literally, there's another one that is Itchy Tasty.
Pretty clear that they were carrying some sort of BOW or virus, though, based on the marks in the crash. Finding the manifest on the ship tells the two that Veltro was headed to Valkoinen Mock Airport. Chris and Jessica
she was already infected, probably. Caves I think that's the big thing. Is I didn't know she was already infected.
The dogs of this entry. They basically function like all the other dogs in Resident Evil. They make large, leaping attacks from a distance.
Yeah.
And they are similarly deteriorating. Bones sticking out from their sides, feral grins washed across their faces.
I will say, I do think these dogs look awesome. I think the rib cages being like busted out on the sides, you know, I think it's so cool looking. I just wish the dogs were kind of like more than just like slightly jogs at you and jumps.
During this cave section,
because they feel
Chris falls from a great height
more
into
annoying
a chasm below,
than menacing.
And we're forced to defend ourselves against an onslaught of wolves.
They look like another set of teeth. Yeah, it's pretty cool, right?
Outside, Jessica located the airport with her binoculars.
Binoculars. I don't think I've ever heard them called binoculars. I guess that's not wrong. I would say binoculars, but binoculars, I guess, is correct.
Chris and Jessica get contacted by Clive, who reveals
Reminds me of Houndour.
They've been set up. See, the reveal here is that this is taking place in present time. We think it's before Chris and Jessica got lost, but actually, Clive received faulty intel that they were on the ship. So Jill and Parker are looking for them in the wrong place.
All the homies hate Jessica. Yeah, she's I feel like she's not fun Ada Wong. She's like all flirt and no substance.
Somebody sprung a trap, and we took the bait.
You know what I mean?
Chris and Jessica noticed the Veltro flag at the airport.
Does it kind of look like Bill
it seems
Murray?
Like they're the ones
O'Brien? I can kind of see that.
behind all of this. The two now have to head to the Mediterranean
Hey, take
Sea
care.
to rescue
Have a
Jill
good
and
night.
Parker, turning things on their heads. Back on the ship, Jill and Parker have been separated and stored in 2 different rooms.
Crap, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders. My name's Roy Chiato, like a macchiato. I'm a coffee-fueled bunny host with a serious passion for voice acting, and I love working out. We're watching the retrospective video for Resident Evil Revelations. Yeah, so pull up a chair. Let's have some fun. Get the popcorn.
Figure out a way to escape from here, which is honestly pretty simple. We grab a nearby screwdriver and use it to solve a panel puzzle. These puzzles are really the only ones included in the game, and they are exceedingly simple.
Yeah,
we just have to
they're
move
really
these
easy.
little nodes to specific spots on the grid and make sure the wires don't get crossed. Luckily, there aren't too many of these over the course of the game.
They're pretty easy.
But because there's nothing else to fill in the gaps, it does leave you sort of wanting for a substantial puzzle.
Yeah, maybe some sort of something. It is very, very simple.
Since our weapons have been taken, we have to dodge enemies until we can get them back. One of these enemies whiffs on his attack and goes straight into a CRT. Navigating downstairs, we can reunite with Parker and get our weapons back. We also can access our first item box here, where we can customize
This bunny
weapons.
was pretty neat.
Our next goal on the
Thanks.
ship, though, is to contact HQ and tell them what's happening on the ship. We have to head up a nearby elevator and take it to the bridge. Upstairs, we find out that the communications system has been broken, seemingly intentionally. The ship then begins to quake, and the pair are attacked by a red-haired mystery assailant who aims a gun at them. We don't have to wonder who this
Can we look back at this for a second?
red-haired mystery assailant.
He runs up at her with his flashlight up. And Jill's reaction to that is, huh. And then he just grabs her. Isn't that really awkward looking? I just realized that.
Who aims a gun at them.
Weird.
We don't have to wonder who this mystery assailant is for long, though, because he pops up right at the beginning
The kick looks so weird, dude.
of the next episode. This episode begins with a flashback taking place during the Terra Grigia panic.
See, this one I'm kind of okay with, because it's like they're introducing who Raymond is as a character and why Parker knows him, and then we get a little bit more insight as to who Jessica is, and like I think this is a fine episode, or a fine piece of the chapter.
Parker and
But it's
Jill
like,
at this time were
it's still
working for
jarring.
the FBC, and so was this red-haired man, Raymond. Morgan, the head of the FBC, is talking on the phone.
Someone's
and
running
tells
up
the
at me,
crew
guess
to
I'll die.
evacuate quickly.
I do be like
They're
that.
giving up the city.
Raymond looks so weird, I
Clive
agree.
confronts Morgan before we leave, telling him that the FBC is making a mistake by sacrificing Terra Grigia. Raymond heads off with the heads of their bureaus, and we head to the helicopter. In this stage,
Yeah, like, let's be real. They probably could have saved Terra Grigia. It's just obviously saying just hunters is like a pretty crazy thing. But like, hunters don't transmit the T virus, right? They just kill people. Yeah, I feel like, damn.
we have to move across various office buildings while fending off attacks from BOWs. These enemies are the standard hunter that we were introduced to all the way back in the first Resident Evil game. They're pretty quick, and instead of swaying around like the ooze, they actually jump all over the place. Once again, making them a more difficult target. We'll come back to Terra Grigia a couple times throughout the campaign.
We always have to fight.
These, in addition to the snowy chapters in the mountains
Always have
outside
to
of the
fight
airport,
hunters.
are definitely the action chapters of the game.
Which definitely feel really awkward at times, especially because like you don't get any upgrades to your weapon, so it's just, I don't know, it's just bullets.
For these brief periods, the game swaps its style from atmospheric horror aboard an abandoned seafaring vessel to fast-paced action fighting souped up
So
POWs.
weird.
It's definitely a bit of tonal whiplash
I
between
agree.
the two. And while I would say that Revelations mostly tries its hand at returning the series to its horror roots,
Yeah.
it can't help but dip its fingers into the modern action style
I
of the
agree.
time.
I'll agree.
These were probably my least favorite parts of the game.
Big agree. We're of agreement. I think everybody, for the most part, just wanted a game of Jill and Parker on ship. You know, if I remember right, your only A ranks were here in the flashbacks, specifically this stage, because hitting the hunters was really hard sometimes.
And like I said before, I usually just wanted to go back to the ship. I had keys to find, secrets to unlock, extra weapons to upgrade. Suddenly, I'm transported to Terra Grigia, and none of that really matters for a bit. In the context for the story, it does provide more background information. It does develop the characters more. It does create a more fleshed out world for a spin-off.
Yeah.
But it also leaves the product feeling a bit all over the place.
Yeah, and that's the big issue, because like if we got maybe Terra Grigia from the beginning, or like the big Terra Grigia flashbacks happened later, to kind of like, if Jill, like after finishing a chapter, if Jill was like, how do you know that guy anyway? And Parker's like, oh, it was back during the Terra Grigia incident. And he kind of goes off into like a tirade about explaining who Raymond is and how he knows Jessica and everything like that, and how he was with the FBC before he joined the BSAA. If it was like a more of a, air quotes, a revelation later, rather than, hey, let's just play that whole thing now.
Parker and Jessica escape the building and take the elevator to the helipad. They discuss how much this feels like Raccoon City, you know, with the whole nuking a city and everything.
Basically.
The two hop on the helicopter and we see a detailed cutscene of the destruction of Terra
my
Grigia.
eyes.
It's actually one of my favorite cutscenes in the game.
It does look really
Buildings
cool.
are crashing into one another. Solar panels are crumbling under the heat,
Oh my
all while
eyes.
shining in the reflected sunlight. As Parker and Jessica ride away from the crumbling city, they remark how futile their efforts to help were. We then jump back to the present day on the Queen Zenobia. Parker realizes who Raymond is, so that whole "who are you" thing from the previous cutscene was just a fake out, I guess.
It's immediately resolved, because he's like, who are you? And then Raymond says something, and he's like, Raymond?
He basically tells Jill and Parker that they're in over their heads. They don't know who they're fighting or why they're here. Even though Jessica now works for the BSAA with Chris, Raymond still works for the FBC, which is important to understand because he doesn't exactly seem like he's on our side at this point.
Which also kind of makes sense. As the game goes on, it becomes more and more obvious that the BSAA and the FBC are kind of not friends, even though they should be, because they still have the goals, like the same goals. But yeah, so no one saved Raymond. I think he escapes with Lansdale is supposed to be the idea, question mark. I think that's what's supposed to happen with Terra Grigia.
Downstairs, we can find some memos, one specifically to the staff and the crew of the Zenobia. It seems like a sort of orientation document for the workers there, but it gives us a brief description of the various areas of the ship.
Yeah.
The Gothic-style promenade hall, the card game and slot machine casino, a variety of restaurants and shops, and the solarium.
And I do love this breakdown, but it never feels like they live up to the descriptions. It always feels like we're getting like a piece of it rather than the full thing, and that we don't get like a full ability to actually explore it. Like the cafeteria area or the promenade, whatever the frick it is just a boss room setting, you know?
And in the next room, we can find a document that lists the history of the ship.
Listen.
The Zenobia was part of the Paraguas line and was constructed in 1978. It was meant to replicate the golden age of cruise ships, and the design was actually based on blueprints left behind by George Trevor.
Whoa, George Trevor? The guy that made the Spencer and the Ashford Mansion and the what's the other one? Marcus Mansion / training facility? That's crazy.
If you don't remember, George Trevor was actually the architect behind the Spencer Mansion and father to Lisa Trevor, introduced in the RE1 remake.
Yeah.
This is another example of Resident Evil attempting to throw in these little Easter eggs and connect games into the overall lore.
I didn't like that.
That's just kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, like why? It did not need to be like that, because it doesn't even feel like the majority of the time that there's really that much like George Trevor influence. It just feels like it's the Spencer Mansion.
Also, I think it would have made more sense if one of the Travis family's blueprints were used, considering Travis Trading was a ship-based company in the 19th century.
Whoa,
this
crazy.
memo also goes deeper into the meaning of the name Zenobia, referencing a queen of the Palmyrene Empire. Jill and Parker find
How many games they mentioned? Oh, I mean, like a lot of the mansions are just built by Trevor. So yeah, I don't know if there's a specific number of games. I just named 3, which is Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 0, and Code Veronica.
crest and a key down here, granting us access into further rooms upstairs, but also giving us the ability to get the shotgun, which has been locked up until now.
Shotgun!
With this new key,
get the
we can head
gun.
into the Promenade Hall, a massive 4-story area that acts as a sort of crossroads to many different parts of the ship. Revelations, in its larger areas, uses these small sort of airlock rooms as
makes sense. The
loading
cruise feels more
screens.
like mansions
We
than a
enter
boat.
one door quickly, and the second door
I'm sorry, one more time? You entered this door quickly?
takes a few extra seconds
still
to load
spinning.
in the next area.
It's still spinning.
It's certainly not the first game
still
in the
spinning.
world to do this.
It's still
but
spinning.
It was really cool to see a game
It's
like
still
this
spinning.
do away with a lot of its loading screens.
Still spinning.
We can find access to the emergency communication room nearby, but we can't get in without the key. So we need to track down the comms officer who's nearby.
Quickly.
Heading into the small cafeteria / shopping strip, we can hear the comms officer, who has been infected, but still makes his SOS calls throughout the echoing halls of the ship.
Mayday. Mayday. Mayday.
This is one of the moments in Revelations that actually surprised me with its atmosphere. We are essentially walking into a boss battle, and we know it. But the game alerts us to this with sound, a large focus for the development team behind the game. The boss itself is essentially one of the chainsaw enemies from previous games, but beefed up a bit.
It's such a weird thing, because I think this enemy's design is really cool, but I hate this boss fight arena. Because it's literally endless other enemies until he dies.
Comms officer, now mutated into a beast called a skaghead, is a large fat beast that scurries around and attempts to cut us up with its right-hand weapon. This is also probably the part of the game where we begin to notice the return of the gory death animations in the series.
Yeah, Jill gets bodied.
After defeating it, we can get access to the comm officer's key and his journal.
Yep.
His notes reflect the last days of his life as he slowly deteriorated.
Itchy tasty.
Madness. Taking his key, we can head back to the...
That's the journal entry I was talking about before. The itchy tasty thing, you know? The skagheads are really cool looking. I agree. That's where I was saying, like, so many of the bosses in Revelations, I think, are genuinely really cool looking, but the fights themselves are not. Like, the T-Abyss Tyrant at the end, super cool looking, pain in the ass to fight. And genuinely, I don't think it was that fun to fight. IMO.
Promenade and get into the emergency comms room. Raymond is already here, though, and the comms device is destroyed.
How is he already here? It was locked with the key from the dude that we just killed. I wish there was some sort of explanation for this. Like if we examined this room, if there was like a secret passage, but he's just in here and it's locked. And it just genuinely doesn't make sense.
The masked man that we saw before is giving some sort of manifesto on the screen.
Raymond is
He
a
claims
ghost
to be
confirmed.
a part of Veltro, and he wields a new virus
Let's go with that.
called the T-Abyss virus. They are prepared to infect 1/5 of the Earth's water. He displays this virus and
NGF,
its
thanks for the
incredible
follow. Welcome
capability
in.
to turn fich into swimming beasts.
Piranhas.
Or as a character nicknamed Jackass puts it,
He's turning guppies into jaws.
the masked man reveals himself, but it's no one we've ever seen before.
Yeah, so like this reveal is kind of like, who cares?
He seems to quote the Divine Comedy quite a lot. Because it's confirmed Veltro is behind all of this, Clive sends out 2 BSAA agents named Jackass and Grinder to head back to the airport that Chris and Jessica just left.
Yep. And then we get our third group, which feels really unnecessary. Feels like the characters don't move with any sort of hurry. Yeah.
Chris is with his partner on a helicopter searching for Jill and Parker, and he promises to find his old friend once again. The next episode begins as Raymond theorizes that Veltro is back because they want vengeance for what happened at Terra Grigia. The comms system here isn't working because the emergency power is on and it needs the main power to work.
Whoa,
which honestly
crazy.
Just seems like a terribly inefficient system to me.
Wow, yeah, you're so right, and also forced backtracking, insane. Grinder, you say? I made that joke so many times during the game.
The power back on. On the way out, Raymond gives us a key and talks about the fact that his partner, Rachel, has been lost somewhere in this ship. We'll deal with her later, but first we head through the casino in the ship. Here we can turn the power on, face some
vengeance for Terra
mutated fish
Grigia.
jump.
So it's more so that they want vengeance for not winning. Because like the idea was they wanted to like destroy the city and then keep going from there, I think. But yeah, the city got destroyed anyway. But so if you just say that and you don't think about it, you're like, oh yeah, of course, that makes sense. But when you think about it, it's like, no, Terra Grigia got destroyed. What are they getting vengeance on? And you realize, and that's part of the revelation part, is they want vengeance against Lansdale for not basically living up to his end of the bargain and screwing them over.
From the fountain and play some slots to get enough coins to solve a puzzle that gets us in the VIP room.
Yippee!
We find a large elevator nearby that will get us to the engine room.
I think him and
but we have to
Jackass
take
are
another
mask for
elevator
mask.
back
No.
to where we entered the ship to get the key.
Jackass definitely isn't, because he talks about jokingly, even though he actually does, stalking Jessica, which is really creepy.
It happens to be nearby the dead woman we found earlier, who turns out to be Rachel. Rachel has been infected, though, and has mutated into an incredibly difficult to defeat enemy. She is very fast, deathly strong, and hard to hit. We can actually kill her here to get the key, but she's sort of like a stalker enemy for this entry. I'm hesitant to call her a full stalker enemy because she doesn't follow us generally throughout the whole game. We'll just have certain segments where we can fight her again or avoid her entirely, and she never really dies.
It is very frustrating. I'm kind of sad I didn't kill her in the segment where we were running to the UAV controls. I really wish that I did. Her in the, because I think I killed the Skag, but not her. So
I guess she's more similar to something like Lisa Trevor than she really is to
fair.
Mr. X.
I think that's fair.
On our way to Rachel, we can actually re-enter the room.
Is it an achievement that makes you kill her before she gets to the cafeteria? Oh, I'll have to redo the game.
Earlier.
Oh no,
we can find
I already decided I was not redoing Revelations because a lot of the achievements are tied to raid mode. It's like half of the achievements are raid, and I'm not doing that.
Called Mysterious Instructions that lists out tasks for some sort of team carrying out an expedition on the Queen Zenobia. They were wary of Jill and Parker arriving and didn't want them to interfere with the mission. They were meant to mislead us for some unknown reason and to not engage. Rebecca's memo that she left behind also noted that she didn't want to come on this mission. She figured out that the ship was used as a base of operations for the attack on Terra Grigia.
Whoa, crazy.
We take out Rebecca, head back to Parker.
He said Rebecca again.
To head to
Damn, that's crazy.
The next episode begins, and this is where the game starts to go off the rails a bit. And by that, I don't mean large, unrealistic monsters attacking us. I mean tonally. We jump over to 2 new characters.
She's a rookie.
Jackass
so.
and Grinder.
Oh.
They're at the airport in the mountains looking for any sign or plans from Veltro. The whole tone of these characters is just way more comedic and funny than the rest of the game. Jackass is a big goof who really just kind of does whatever he wants and says anything that comes to mind. Grinder plays more of the straight man here, but the whole thing is just goofy.
It is
This
very
is one
goofy.
of the downsides that comes with Revelations, trying to make their game take on an episodic format. They include these characters that would probably work in a normal TV show, but here it just sort of detracts from the actual horror that's going down.
Because a lot of the time when you play this type of game and you're going from episode to episode to episode, because like now that it's not a 3DS game and you can play it on PS3, on PS4, on PC from Steam, everything like that, usually you're not taking that large of breaks for like the game. Like we beat this in like 8-ish hours, maybe 7. You know, it was not that long of a playthrough. I could even check how long the playthrough took if I check my library. We played for 7.5 hours, and that includes everything that we did, including dying, including just the yapping and the conversations. So, you know, it hurts. Like Abbott and Costello somehow entered Dawn of the Dead. Maybe something
Every
like
time
that.
we jump back to Jill and Parker, we need time to get back into the horror.
Yeah.
To sink into its depths and really understand what's going on. To shake off the goofy dust that's been scattered all over us from the previous sections. It also doesn't help that their chapters are mostly short and poorly paced.
Yes.
And not much really happens in them outside of the last one. On top of that, Jackass is revealed to be stalking
That's what I'm saying! Why is this even a thing? I never understood this.
Jessica right when we first meet this character, which, you know, just makes him such a lovable and funny guy. The two break into a Veltro base, which is really just a short scattering of a couple hallways and 2 rooms. They find some footage of a plane taking off from the base. It was attacked by hunters before leaving, which is what took the plane down in
ice
Chris
hunters.
and Jessica's chapter. There's some other footage that shows an invisible BOW attacking people inside of the facility.
Invisible?
We find a memo nearby from the
no.
dead soldier, and it's clear that he was completely indoctrinated into Veltro. Sacrifices, hounds of death, purging the world, all that neat stuff.
Yeah,
the two eventually find a security token and need to head to the
wacky,
crash
don't you
site
know?
of
It
the
do be
ship
like that.
to figure out where the freighter is. We then jump back to Jill and Parker on the ship. This whole area of the ship is flooded and the water is filled with new enemies.
I liked the concept of this. However, I hate the enemies that look like jellyfish because there's no way of seeing them or shooting them until they jump up or using the shock grenades, which is really, really frustrating. At least with these piranha type enemies, you can see them swimming in the water. So it's like you can kind of see it and you can shoot that and it'll hurt them.
A breed of fish that jumps out of the water and attacks called the gyozo, the same enemies we fought back in the casino fountain.
Yep.
And the sea creepers.
I hate
new
these.
blob that is far more sneaky in the flooding.
Hate
and just
it.
pop out almost instantly.
Hate that.
This whole area of the ship is very industrial. It's the guts, the engine rooms, the soot-covered workplaces of the ones keeping the vehicle floating.
And this is kind of where I will say it finally does feel like a ship. You know, it's flooded. You're definitely having that fear of drowning, of being lost at sea, of getting stuck under debris. It does. I will say the industrial side of it does look a little bland though, because you walk into rooms and they kind of look the same. A lot of them are set up similarly and weirdly. And it's a lot of backtracking down here. It's like undo this valve to stop steam, go back 4 rooms, undo another valve, go back 3 rooms, hit another valve. Okay, now you're done with the area.
This is in direct
weird.
contrast to the lavish areas that we've been to thus far. The beautifully decorated promenade, the bright neon lit casino awash with cash and high profits.
True.
It almost paints a picture of the ship itself, what it looked like when it was still functioning. This theme will slightly come back into play in the overall plot later. Down in the engine room, we have to solve a puzzle to get the engine working again.
I'll have to hear that one.
We can pull some levers that stop steam from coming out of the pipes, giving us
what I was
access
talking
to
about.
different areas of the ship. Eventually, getting a cog and a key to start up the working engine again, we can activate the system. But this locks the doors and begins to flood the entire room. Jill and Parker are in serious danger.
The thing I never really understood, why does this do this? Why does this trigger this, like the ship to flood? Isn't this something that they would have needed to do? Like, to fix the ship? If the ship was like in trouble? Or is it just the quirky, haha, George Trevor death trap? Yeah, but why is it trapped? Who trapped it? It wasn't Raymond and Rachel. They didn't have enough time. You know? But it's like, why? Why is it trapped? Because this is like a real ship that was made in the 70s. Why does this do this? Whoever abandoned it? I mean, I guess it was just scientists and all for Umbrella's sake.
We then cut back to Clive at the BSA.
Now die, comrade.
Jackass and Grinder are still looking for traces of Veltro in the mountains. We then go through the recycled crash site map that we already perused with Chris and Jessica.
Wow.
This time around, though, we fight the invisible BOWs that we saw before.
Invisible
which are
hunters.
Just basically hunters that can go invisible.
Yep.
After defeating them, Jackass begins hacking the security terminal.
Hacker
They end
man.
up finding the coordinates for the ship, but they find out Veltro is looking for the ship as well, even though it's their own ship.
Yep, which is why he like points it out. He's like, that's weird. What's going on with that?
Chris and Jessica are given the coordinates as well, meaning that they can head straight there and hopefully rescue Jill and Parker from drowning. Chris and Jessica arrive on the ship, and we have to weave through the hallways, retracing the path that Jill and Parker took. We end up fighting...
I'm gonna be real, I did not like this race. I think it's just because of the music. The music got really boring really fast. I do think some of the fights were cool, and being like having like a race against time. I think it's just the music got on my nerves. Because it's so long. It's like a solid 20 minutes.
Heads in the casino, and as Chris and Jessica head down the elevator, we see Jill and Parker close to drowning in the engine room. They head through the same areas, now devoid of any of the flooding that we saw before, and when they get to the engine room, they find no flooding at all, not even Jill and Parker. It's at this time we realize Chris and Jessica are on a different ship.
Wow.
This is a pretty big reveal and a massive fake out. There will be some sort of explanation later, but for now, it's honestly just a good twist that really took me by surprise.
And again, this is a great twist and a great surprise, but it feels like, because it's only one chapter or one episode, not even a chapter. It's we get the coordinates to the ship, Chris and Jessica are there, and that's where I'm saying, like, if we got like a chapter or two or an episode or two extra with Chris and Jessica going through the ship and trying to find Jill and Parker and not realizing maybe that they're trapped or that they're drowning, and you know, it being a little bit slower, because like if they didn't realize that they were on the Queen Semiramis instead of the Queen Zenobia, the tension of it could have been so much better. But the fact that you find out 20 minutes later is like, oh, you know?
I imagine a sequence where Chris and Jessica stop the water and these four characters are reunited, but the game decides to take a pretty decent swerve in the other direction. Back on the Zenobia, we have to swim through the water as Jill and collect some pipes so that we can open an escape grate for us to get out through. Parker and Jill are saved. They lower the ballast and finally get power to the ship. But there's one more problem. The antenna is out on the observation deck.
Of course.
It needs fixed, and that's our next mission.
It is mildly frustrating. It does feel like every time like our protagonist had good plans, there's always like, why is this broken? Why is this not working? Like, did someone sabotage this? Why would they have sabotaged this piece specifically?
We then jump back to the other ship.
Come on, man.
The Queen Semiramis.
Come on, man.
They're still trying.
Because at least like in Resident Evil 1 or like the other puzzle-driven Resident Evils, it's not that things are broken. It's that like you just need to go like assemble this thing, or you just need to find a key to unlock it. But it's like every fucking thing is broken. Every fucking thing is broken in Revelations.
Locate the other ship at this point since they found the wrong one. Back aboard the Zenobia, Jill and Parker head towards the observation
makes sense at least.
deck.
I agree.
But on their way up the elevator, they are assailed by a strange creature. It attacks with its tail and face, and we have not much to do but to shoot and stand in the elevator.
Yep.
This is not the whole boss battle, though, because we meet it again on the way up. This is our first, like, sort of full boss fight with the creature called Drog Hignazo.
This is probably the fight, like, air quotes, the boss fight that I liked the most from the game. But even then, it's just run around the arena and shoot the enemy until it dies.
This fight actually sort of feels like a legit Resident Evil boss battle.
Yeah.
This creature has a massive shell on its back, meaning that we can't just damage it by firing willy-nilly. We have to target its exposed tissue, either on its stomach or what I guess you could call a head.
And I think this is one of the fights where I was saying dodging feels busted. Because you can dodge right through the charge attacks and it puts you right behind him. So it gives you ample enough time to just real quick turn, shoot.
I like the design of this boss,
What's up, Remnant?
Because it's almost difficult to discern what we're even looking at here. This thing is so malformed and strange that it seems as if it was never human, or at least not of this earth. It really exemplifies that grotesque mutation theme that Resident Evil has always had. We have to avoid its massive charges, and using explosives can sometimes manage to stun it for long enough that we can attack its back. It's a nice boss fight because we honestly don't get many general boss fights throughout this whole game.
That's what I'm saying.
Pretty few and far between, but this one is decent.
I like this one.
Once defeated, we can head upstairs to grab a Veltro keycard and a memo from a Veltro agent's journal.
Yeah,
it's
I enjoyed this
2004 and talks about the leader of Veltro, Jack Norman, and his plan to purge humanity. Part of that plan was commandeering these 2 luxury cruise ships.
Hey, Murasaki, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders. My name's Roy Chiato, like a macchiato. I'm a coffee-fueled bunny host with the serious passion for voice acting. We are reacting to the Resident Evil Revelations retrospective video. It's kind of just behind the scenes on Resident Evil Revelations. We're learning about it. We're going over the story stuff now. We've already kind of talked about the behind the scenes of the game being made, the gameplay. Now it's story time. So if you want to watch the video, come vibe with us, thrive with us, survive with us, and let's keep watching.
They saw as a symbol of excess in human society. Up top, Jill and Parker fix the antenna and are finally able to contact Clive.
Yippee!
He tells them that the whole thing was a setup, but he won't answer our hero's questions. He gets a call from the ESF, who has reported satellite movement. The solar energy reintegrator that the FBC used to destroy Terra Grigia has been reactivated.
What blows my mind is that this was just left in orbit for a year. This is essentially a satellite laser that has just been left there at the discretion of someone like Lansdale in the FBC. When does this already take place? I know it's 2004. It's between Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 5. It's actually like right after Resident Evil 4, from what I understand, because it's in 2005. And somehow easily remade into a weapon, basically.
It's being aimed straight for the Queen Zenobia. Clive seems to think that it's Morgan for some reason.
You think that the nations of the world will want that disassembled? Wow. Crazy, especially after, they had to use it on Terra Grigia to deal with bioterrorists. And
deciding to wipe evidence off
the
map. Clive tells the 2 that he doesn't have the time to rescue Jill or Parker. Chris is on his way to rescue them, but he won't get there in time, and Clive begins working
when taking it out of orbit, requiring having it crash down to Earth. I mean, not necessarily. They could just decommission it, Terra Grigia panic happened in 2004, but the actual story goes around 2005. That's what I said. So the flashbacks are in 2004, but the game takes place in 2005 after Resident Evil 4.
The attack. Jackass radios in pretty quickly with a solution. He wants us to find a UAV aboard the ship, the same one that was used to spread the virus in Terra Grigia. We can use this to spread chaff that will confuse the satellite targeting system and hopefully prevent it from blowing us to hell.
I forget why he knows that's there. It might just be from like Rachel's reporting or from it's just general, like the fact that they know it's like where Veltro was doing the Terra Grigia stuff and they had a UAV to disperse the virus. So satellites are not easy to take out of space. They could have disabled it somehow. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they should have crashed it, but I'm saying like disassembled or disabled. But the fact that it's still just there and easily accessible and working is nuts. Also, what is this hunter doing? Holy crap, it had to go. Its people needed it.
We make our way through the ship and head to the foredeck where
what a
swarms
pause.
of hunters have appeared. We have to fend them off to get the UAV up and running. Clive is then making a call to Morgan of the FBC. They seem to have some sort of feud going on.
They're reading
and
the
Morgan
plane's computer. That
basically
makes
confirms
sense. What is a UAV? Unmanned aerial vehicle? Is that what it is? I think it's unmanned something vehicle, but it's basically a drone. Drone is like the best way of imagining it. So, yes. Okay, cool.
he's operating the satellite. He begins the activation of the solar device, but we only have 6 minutes to get to the remote UAV.
6 minutes. 6 minutes is all I can spare. It should have been 7 minutes, because that's how long Wesker gives you in Resident Evil 5. I'm just saying. Unmanned aerial vehicle. Okay, cool.
UAV controls. This means a tense darting across the ship's outer deck, fighting against hunters and ooze along the way. We end up in a large cargo room, once again pursued by the infected Rachel and another skaghead.
I like that Rachel shows up here. I think it adds to the tension. I just wish I could have killed her.
We get to the controls just in time, though, and this does in fact confuse the satellite's targeting, but it still manages to hit near the ship, which causes the thing to capsize. Morgan tells Clive that he's trying to destroy the ship because he wants to get rid of the virus, ensuring that it's wiped out. Clive is determined to save the people.
I mean, yes, but like, no, because like, if they capsize the ship, all of the T-Abyss virus in the lab at the bottom will get into the ocean. You know? Probably eventually.
On board the ship.
You know what I mean?
Jill and Parker are swallowed up by the water in the ship, and we're forced to swim through the place, coming up for air every once in a while to make sure we don't drown. Chris contacts us as we're making our escape.
Swim.
He thinks that the ship crashing will make the virus infect the nearby oceans.
That's all I'm saying.
Heading back through the entire ship, we need to rendezvous with Chris and Jessica, who have just arrived in the hall.
So, wait, that's also a confusing part. If Lansdale's whole big... I'm going to bring this up later. I'm going to wait until they explain Lansdale being the bad guy. But destroying this ship specifically feels weird. It was also Lansdale trying to cover his tracks of his involvement with Veltro. Absolutely that, Mage. But then it's also... I'll mention a little bit now. Lansdale destroying the ship, and he knows there's a virus on it, which means if the ship is destroyed, it'll disperse the virus into the ocean, and eventually it would just destroy the world because of the ecosystem being so fucked. That's not what Lansdale wanted to do with Terra Grigia. The whole thing that he wanted to do with Terra Grigia was show BOWs to the world so the FBC would get more funding and more power, and he would have more power. And destroying the entire ecosystem of the ocean feels like, homie, you did not think this through. That's like a cartoon villain like plot. Like, oh man, I hate the ocean. I'm gonna summon Groudon to destroy everything. I'm just gonna dry up the ocean. Arr. Homie. And he's supposed to be the head of the FBC? What a fucking idiot.
The masked man
it just doesn't make sense.
appears in the casino before we can meet them, though. Before we can see the conversation, we jump back to Chris and Jessica driving a ship through the ocean and fighting off a massive parasite in the water.
Did not like this fight.
On rails mounted gun section.
Did not like this fight.
It's all right, though. It's incredibly hard to aim this thing for some reason.
Yeah.
It's also difficult to really hit anything, and the main point is really just to survive because there's no killing it just yet.
Yeah.
As Chris and Jessica reach the ship, we jump back to Jill and Parker.
Pretty stupid of him, I agree.
Man-
Luckily, him just covering up accidentally or accidentally infecting the ocean is a nice bonus to keep him in power. Damn the consequences. Yeah, but it's like, infecting a fifth of the ocean will eventually infect everything.
And asks
That's all I'm saying. Like, he has to know that.
Why did it take Veltro so long to find the Queen Zenobia? How was it able to float around undetected? Why was Veltro able to vanish after the Terra Grigia panic undetected? And finally, why is someone using the solar device to destroy the ship?
The laser might have vaporized the virus on the ship, maybe if it wasn't diverted by the UAV. I guess that's not a... I don't hate that idea, but I feel like if there's even like the slimmest chance that the virus would survive is kind of like, you know, that's so dangerous. Lansdale's not good at seeing the whole picture, is he? No, absolutely not. But neither is O'Brien.
He seems like he's about to spill the beans on this mystery, but someone shoots him. It's Jessica, who has just showed up with Chris and mistaken this man as an assailant. The masked man is then revealed to be Raymond, seemingly a part of Veltro. He tells Parker to find the truth about Terra Grigia before dying. The group can't mourn him for long, though, because the ship starts to shift again.
Thank you so much for the follow.
The party decides to split. Jill and Chris are heading to the ship's lab,
Jessica.
and the other two, Parker and Jessica, are heading to stop the ship from sinking. One big criticism I have for RE Revelations is that it just tries to reuse so many areas of the game over and over again.
Yeah, swimming back through here like twice feels so crazy. I'm sorry, I can't take Jessica's outfit serious at all. Me neither. The whole listen, I will admit, it does look sexy at certain angles. And they definitely wanted sex appeal on Jessica. I understand that. However, the missing leg looks really weird. The little bit of hair coming out of like the wetsuit cap, also really weird.
Because of the episodic nature of the game, there is naturally a lot of linearity to the game's story.
Weird.
Of course, most of the time you can head back to previous areas and try to find any extras or things you've missed. But generally, the game feels like it's putting you on a path. Therefore, it doesn't really feel like backtracking, but just reusing stretches of the game in a linear fashion.
And that is something that I definitely felt while we were going through these parts, because I think we had literally just come through this with Parker, and then we get to the casino again, and then Chris is like, all right, cool, we have to stop this, and you're going back through the area again.
In the beginning half of the game, this is done pretty well.
Even said Jessica's wetsuit was ridiculous.
Parts of the ship in ways that you don't really expect. Or, for example, the swimming sections. These see us trekking across the same areas of the game, but they are changed and viewed through a new lens. It's an efficient way to utilize environments, but the game is at its worst when it isn't doing that. When we're just heading down the same hallway that we already have, heading towards the same place that we've already been. I can't criticize it too much because it is already a pretty impressive feat that a game of this scope and fidelity was even pulled off on the 3DS.
And that's what I was saying. While I will bitch and complain about a lot of these segments in Revelations, it is crazy that a lot of this shit worked at all in the 3DS's state, you know?
In the first place.
Capcom was in its horny era. I've been saying that the entire time, because even if you look at Resident Evil 5, Sheva's costumes are so egregiously horny, which is insane. I don't even think like Resident Evil 0, 1, and 4 aren't even that horny, you know? But 5 and Revelations, horny.
Backtracking through the facility,
I don't think
we
I
eventually
really
get access
got
to the Veltro lab. We're introduced to a new enemy type here.
Like big butts and they cannot lie.
Scarmiglione.
Listen, I'm just saying. I'm a little bit partial to personality myself. It's the way to the heart, you know?
That uses a massive shield formed from its own body.
Looks like Street Fighter 6 Capcom is still in their horny arc. Well, it's just changed. It's just a different flavor of horny. This was more like egregiously horny. It's like hard to explain because Street Fighter 6 does have some horny stuff. Listen, don't get me wrong, but it's a different kind of horny, if that makes sense.
We can destroy the top or bottom half of this thing, and then it turns into a wandering spine with legs. But if we manage to damage it evenly, we can actually just kill it with no issue. Chris and Jill get to the lab, revealing a large...
I did that on my first one. I didn't realize that was a thing. I thought they just introduced the what's it called after to kind of explain that.
Container of red.
Chris Taylor outfit with Chef's Kiss. Which game is that in? Is that in RE6? Because it's not in 5. I just looked at the outfits for 5 because Shia and I decided what outfits we're using. So Shia's is... mine is also...
liquid.
It's in this one.
After
Okay.
Serious big moment and reveal. We jump back to...
Speaking of sailor outfits,
Jackass
I have something
Grinder is
for you guys on
waiting for Jackass to finish his
Thursday.
hacking. The two head back to the airport
A little bit of
because
cosplay.
Jackass has made a realization, one that he doesn't want to say out loud just yet. This is basically the game just saving the reveal for a better point in time, most likely the end of the episode.
Wow, that's crazy. And then we don't get that.
We go through the same area as before, but this time there's a large warehouse at the end. We have to defend Jackass while he hacks, and once he's done, he's cracked the big conspiracy behind it all. He reveals that Clive O'Brien is the one that brought back Veltro. Technically. Veltro was never really back. It was an illusion orchestrated by Clive to get back at Morgan for what he did at Terra Grigia.
Yep.
They're trying to send Clive some information, but as it's sending, the whole airport is hit by a bombing run, taking out the two goofs in a blaze of glory. Back at the lab.
So that is the whole thing. Now we basically have the revelation, or at least half of the revelations of the game. O'Brien is kind of set up as, air quotes, a villain at this point, or at least someone that is not squeaky clean. And he created the illusion that Veltro, the terrorist organization that destroyed Terra Grigia, he created the illusion that they were back purely so that the BSAA would investigate and find out all the shit that Lansdale did. And he knew Chris and Jill would figure it out, and you know, the rest of the BSAA. But it's also just a crazy thing. Like, why not just tell people? Why not just tell people?
But Jill and Chris realize they're surrounded.
What if they
by
didn't find the evidence?
This virus.
What if they just
We have to
died?
get deeper into the lab, past the
World's
pesky
screwed.
laser fences that currently block our way.
He's probably working that bitch from 2. Probably. Must eat now. Hey, take care. Have a good rest of your night.
We can't actually see these lasers unless we touch them, or if we use the Genesis.
Wow, surprise.
This is actually the only time in the entire game that the Genesis is used for a puzzle, and it's a really good implementation of this new gadget.
I also really liked it.
wish they would have done more stuff like this, because it was a moment that the game really started to shine for me. Albeit very briefly, but it still happened.
Also, really, really funny moment, because to show you that the lasers hurt you, Chris walks into a laser and it does like, he does like a full 360 in the air and is launched backwards. It is so goddamn funny looking to see Chris just eat shit. It is so funny.
But it was just so shocking that they never really used this device outside of the general scanning and
hardly used it, especially on that part. I think it's because you can usually tell when things are on, and if you've played any of these types of games, you know where they are. Hi, Yomi. You can punch as many boulders as you want. You can't stop lasers, son. That's what I'm saying. Yomi understands. Guys, can we get a shout out for Yomi? Because you guys aren't aware of what Yomi and I are going to be doing. Remember, we've got that Smasher Pass on Wednesday. Shout out to Yomi! Wait, I could probably change this back to the other one. Let me change this back to the other one. That's my favorite villain! That's my favorite villain, Yomi! That's my favorite villain, Yomi! Okay.
After we get through the lasers, we can start to comb through some nearby memos that, as all Resident Evil lab sections do, start to clear things up a bit.
We are so hot. You're goddamn right we are. We're the hottest villain-hero duo ever.
T-Abyss virus was created,
or rival duo.
shockingly,
Whatever
out of
you
the
prefer.
Abyss virus and the T-virus. The liquid form of the virus could, if dispersed into the water, contaminate the entire world's oceans very quickly.
Yeah.
Jill heads upstairs alone, tries to
All Might vibes,
synthesize
kinda.
a cure, but also to get a password that Chris needs to access a terminal. Up here, we can see the floating tentacles in the water outside the lab. She finds a very important memo on the body of a dead worker, though.
Wow.
It reveals that Morgan, the head of the FBC, was behind the original attacks on Terra Grigia. He gave Veltro the virus, then used the data from the virus's spread, and eventually covered up the evidence of the attacks by destroying the entire city.
And that was the whole reason why he destroyed Terra Grigia, which we knew, and to also kind of farm the whole aspect of, look what the terrorists did, look what they made us do, give me more money, give me more power. Hero outfit, hug all the right curves. I'll leave that to your decision. I'm usually looking at Yomi's instead. You know what I mean?
After Jill gets the password, the chamber is flooded and she swims back downstairs. As they begin to neutralize the
downstairs. Yeah, of course.
virus, though, Morgan contacts them only
I
to
forgot Yomi was here. I can't say horny things with Yomi here. She's going to call me out on them.
say that he plans to kill them.
Yomi's just going to call me out.
Erase any evidence of his misdeeds.
Crazy.
We fend off the virus from hordes of infected, and once the virus is fully neutralized, he gives his villain monologue. He shows them footage of the ship that they're on, clearly planning to take them out. We then jump back to Jessica and Parker, playing Parker as the two try to stop the ship from sinking. Jessica pretty quickly leaves, though, as she
misbehave,
has
it's fine.
something to check on first. Not
You guys heard it here
suspicious
first.
at all.
I got the permission.
By the time we get to the bridge, though, Jessica is already there messing with stuff. Parker has already correctly determined that she's the spy, trying to affect the ship's self-destruct.
Wow,
Raymond
crazy.
then shows up again, somehow revealing he's alive and on our side. Parker doesn't fully trust Raymond, though, and this gives Jessica enough time to shoot Parker and activate the self-destruct.
I hate this moment because it's so obvious that, like, Jessica is evil and that Raymond's in the right, you know?
Parker tells Raymond to go after her as he bleeds out on the bridge. The
Bleeds
ship then
out.
begins to explode in a fiery blaze,
Bleeds out.
but it's once again revealed that this is actually
When the Targaryen panic happened in the
Queen
flashback, when
Samira.
Parker and Jessica escape, you can see the Queen Dido sinking down. Oh, maybe, because that is when it sunk.
There are just way too many fake outs like this in the game. I liked it the first time, but it honestly happens so much more than just the two ships twists.
Yeah.
Like the time when Parker claims he doesn't know who Raymond is at the end of a chapter, only for him to, moments later, realize that it's Raymond. Was it dark in there or what?
I mean, Raymond did have a flashlight.
Because the game has this episodic format, it feels the need to end every chapter with a huge cliffhanger.
I'm so done with the fake outs.
Even
Me
if
too.
it doesn't work there.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where you stop trusting the story because you know that it's actively lying to you.
Yeah, for real.
Regardless, Jessica has set the self-destruct on the Queen Zenobia, so that means we need to escape the ship. Chris and Jill head back through the lab as the ship is exploding around
Water.
them. We
everywhere.
find Parker on the way, who is not dead yet. We have to carry him throughout the halls to try
I did kind of like this part, though, of carrying him through, because it does really feel the weight of, wow, we have an ally that's dying, and he's weighing us down actively. This is rough.
and save our new partner. But eventually, a catwalk collapses and Parker is falling into the fire below. Chris and Jill are unable to lift him up and he falls into the blaze. Chris and Jill continue their escape with only 5 minutes left on the timer. This means we have another countdown to contend with. We walk up the side of the ship as barrels and
hated this
crates
part.
start crashing down onto us.
Oh my God. You guys saw all the times I got hit with all
I
the clips.
absolutely could not make it through this section without getting hit.
That's what I said. That's what I'm gonna be.
On the deck, the pilot is disrupted as a giant infected beast pops out of the ship. We have
The
to
whale.
defeat this thing so that the chopper can land and take us out of here.
It is an
The
infected
first part
whale.
of this battle sees us shooting the limbs popping out of the monster's body. The pilot will send us down rocket launchers every once in a while to make this a bit easier. We also have to avoid their piercing attacks as they make contact with what is
Yep.
left of the deck. Upon defeating
part
it,
was pretty
Chris and
dumb,
Jill
yeah.
escape on the helicopter, but the beast reveals it's still alive.
Oh
We have to
no.
finally take it down with an on-rails shooting section.
Wow, more Gatling guns.
During this section, the helicopter flies around the monster while we target the massive parasites.
I feel bad a
wriggling
little
their
bit for the
way
infected
out of this
creatures.
thing.
Yeah, because it's like literally just a whale. It's not the whale's fault.
Mostly like this boss battle, and I like it more in retrospect. At the time, I thought it was the final one, but it turns out we'll get a sort of true Resident Evil final boss later. This boss does set the stage, though, and even though it leans very far into the action camp, it does properly reflect this era of the series of games.
I'll probably agree with that. I think I just dislike this section because it just takes so long. It just feels like Damage Sponge the boss, which is really annoying.
It wasn't anything amazing, but it wasn't bad either. After we shoot this thing for like 10 minutes, the chopper launches a rocket at its head.
That's what I'm saying.
Finally finishing it off, leaving its corpse slumped in the remains of the Queen Zenobia.
And totally not infecting water and not having other animals get, infected.
Chris and Jill update Clive on what happened. They ask him to come clean about everything. We get a flashback at this point to Terra Grigia. We're playing Parker and Jessica again as they're trying.
Again, dude, this part is so badly placed. This section is so badly placed because you literally are playing the section right before the section you already played. So there's no agency, there's no fear of any characters dying, there's no story revelations. It is quite literally just a, hey, you want to know how Raymond got injured and why Raymond feels like he owes Parker? Here you go.
To find the command room.
So
Swarmed
stupid.
by hunters in the falling city.
Dumb.
On the way, we find Raymond, who we also have to save by carrying him through the facility. He's shot, so we have to get him.
Infection stops the moment the host bites the dust, you know. Yes, however, comma. Remember, the T Abyss virus is a combination of a virus and parasite. So in my head, that means that the parasite could live for a small amount of time after the host dies. And then, you know.
A med kit, which means backtracking through the place we just went through and through the
this
areas
part
that
sucked.
we went through in the last flashback.
I almost died
to
here.
Terra. Once we get the med kit, Parker saves Raymond's life. The three make their way up the elevator, and Raymond begins to question how Veltro pulled off an attack like this in the first place.
Wow, that's crazy.
He was already suspicious. We eventually get to the command room, which links this flashback up with the other one we saw previously, where Parker, Jessica, and Raymond are waiting for evacuation orders from Morgan. This time, though, we see a conversation that Morgan was having on the phone. He's talking to Norman, the real head of Veltro, giving him the bad news that his resistance is over. But Norman already has blackmail on Morgan. He threatens to release all of the information he has that proves Morgan was behind this attack.
It's so convoluted. Like, and then he sinks the what's it called? The Queen Dido, so that information can't get out.
We then jump back to present day on the collapsing Zenobia. Parker and Raymond are in the guts of the ship. Parker somehow survived the flames, but Raymond decides to save him, just like Parker did for him back in Terra Grigia.
Well, it's crazy.
Back in the
Imagine
chopper,
that.
Clive reveals that he and Raymond were working together. They orchestrated the revival of Veltro, all to try and implicate Morgan for what he did in Terra Grigia. Clive reveals that Jackass and Grinder found evidence of a third ship before they died.
Wow.
Back at the BSAA, the organization is being taken over by the FBC, and they're arresting Clive. The final episode of the game takes place in the ruins of the final Veltro ship.
I'm going to be so real. This is one of my favorite parts of the game, if only just because I love the final boss design-wise. I love all the walking around the ship. I hate all of the swimming segments in the ship.
The Queen Dido. Chris and Jill
all the
move
other
their
stuff
way
is really
through
cool.
the ruined underwater halls of the boat. Moving through the ship, we'll eventually find the remains of dead FBC and Veltro soldiers, a lot of them martyred for their cause. This culminates in us finding a video of Norman, who was planning to infect himself with the T-Abyss virus to try and carry out the original plan for his resistance. He had a blood feud with Morgan at this point because of the man's betrayal. Chris and Jill's goal is to find Norman's blackmail information on Morgan, but Norman is still alive in the next room and infects himself once again.
I think the question I always had is, how did Norman survive? But I would imagine, like, there's probably enough food on the ship that you could probably live for a year. Like, probably, and then infects himself. So there's probably also that kind of bullshit, you know?
He becomes our final boss battle of this game, a massive tyrant-like creature.
So cool
This
looking.
boss is actually pretty hard because somehow Norman can teleport around this arena with a glowing third eye on his head. I think technically he's actually using this light on his head to blind us and then burning some sort of image into our heads to make it seem like he's teleporting.
I believe that is the idea.
But I'm not sure.
Spite will prolong a long life. There you go.
We have to wait for Norman to teleport, and when he goes to attack, his heart opens. We can damage this heart to take more health off the boss. Using a shotgun on the heart also stuns him out of attacking, which is very helpful because Norman does a ton of damage.
Yeah, it's like 2 hits put you in danger, and then I had like 30-something Magnum shots. Yeah.
While I know it's more or less a spiritual inspiration, did you ever think about doing a playthrough of the original Sweet Home game?
Maybe. The problem is accessibility. I really don't like playing games through other methods if I can help it. Obviously, as we've been very careful to dance around the topic when we've played Pokemon Y, because it's like there's not really another way to stream it. But since Sweet Home never really got an official US release, it's even more of a, ooh, I don't know about this kind of thing. Or if it did get an official US release, I didn't know that. So maybe. I don't know. I feel like I'd rather just wait. So I don't know. I have so many other games that I want to play at this point. Resident Evil 9 comes out in February. Pokemon Legends Z8 comes out soon. I want to play through all of Fallout New Vegas before Fallout Season 2 comes out. Like, we got a lot of stuff that we want to do. I want to play Silk Song at some point, but I'm letting the hype for it die down, you know? So I'm like, hey, no worries. Welcome in.
They'll also create
good question, though. Thank you for the
later in
bits.
fight, and we have to wait for the heart to open on the real one and do the same thing. Towards the end of the fight, Norman gets sort of charged up and just starts slashing much quicker. But the goal is still the same.
It sucks.
To hit his heart.
It sucks.
It's actually a pretty difficult boss battle.
I agree.
I honestly really enjoyed it. It felt like a good, souped-up twist on the classic Resident Evil Tyrant fight that the series is known for. And it even makes in-world sense, since the T-Abyss virus is part T-virus in the first place.
Yup.
Also, Norman kind of looks like a fish, so T-virus plus water virus, tyrant fish.
I loved that. I genuinely, I still think the final boss was a little unfair at times and took like a really, really long time. The fact that it took me like 30 plus magnum shots, plus all of the assault rifle ammo that I had, plus almost all of the shotgun ammo I had, was insane.
After Norman is killed, Jill and Chris pick up the blackmail evidence on Morgan, which includes a video of him giving direct orders
crazy
to Norman to spread the virus and attack Terra Grigia. This footage is released to the BSAA, and this prevents Clive from being arrested. In fact, Morgan is actually arrested.
Wow,
Jill
shocker.
and Chris then get their idyllic ending on the helicopter as they fly away into blue skies.
Yippee!
We then get some end credits cards that tell us what happened after the game ends. The FBC was dissolved, and many of its agents went to the BSAA, creating the organization that we see in Resident Evil 5.
It's what kind of builds the BSAA that we know today, but like we still have no idea what the hell happened to the BSAA in Resident Evil 7 and 8 as to why Chris left and made Blue Umbrella. That's where I'm kind of like, what the fuck happened, man? We're probably never going to find out unless something crazy happens in Resident Evil 9, which if they make Chris in Resident Evil 9 again, Chris has been in almost every single main series Resident Evil. There's only a couple that he hasn't been in. He wasn't in 2, he wasn't in 3, and he wasn't in 4. Every other main series Resident Evil. Oh, Revelations 2 as well. So he's only not been in 4 main series Resident Evils. Every other one he's been in. Neo Umbrella was recruited Chris. Blue Umbrella, not Neo Umbrella. Two different things.
A short cutscene that shows Jackass and Grinder somehow.
In RE, they use RE4's virus. Las Plagas? No, it's the what's it called? Oh wait, are you talking about the zombies that the BSAA is using? Because we still don't know anything about that. We don't know specifically what they're using. They just say, oh, it's a zombie. Like, or what the hell is the BSAA doing using bioweapons? BOWs.
How survived. Parker, who also survived, is struggling to read a book, and Clive decided to step down from his position as head of the BSAA. Chris and Jill are shown heading up to the Spencer estate, the place where they would have their confrontation with Wesker in Resident Evil 5.
Specifically, the DLC Lost in Nightmares, which Shia and I will be starting the Resident Evil 5 playthrough with.
Now, I have a lot to say about this game and its story overall.
Please do.
But before I talk about that, I just need to briefly talk about this game's Mercenaries mode,
Raid
which
mode.
is called Raid Mode. Raid Mode is given a new name in this entry because it is very unique in the line of Mercenaries minigames, to the point that it almost doesn't resemble the previous ones from the series.
Yeah.
Instead of fighting enemies off and gaining more time on a countdown, we speed run through levels, killing enemies along the way. It's more similar to something like RE Village's Mercenaries mode, except that we don't gain combo or time from killing enemies, so there isn't as much of a reliance on spawn points. Each level is essentially a short part of the main game where we run through, killing enemies as fast as we can and trying to get the goal in
I
as
like seeing
little
the health
time
bar
as
though.
possible.
The health bar does
For
help.
completing each level, we get BP, a currency that we can use to buy new weapons, weapon attachments, refill consumables, etc. We also get experience, and our level determines how much damage we'll
Look at the mini
or can
hunter.
take. Each stage has a recommended level to complete it. We can gain extra BP on each stage by getting through the level without getting hit, killing all the enemies in the level, and by
So
having
funny.
our level lower than the recommended for the stage.
If Blue Umbrella is the U.S. branch of Umbrella, I can see why Chris rejoins them because he was part of Umbrella. What? No, Chris was part of Stars and the BSAA. We don't know anything about what Blue Umbrella is, nor do we know what, why he left or anything about his team. So we get to the DLC on 5 at the beginning of the DLC, go back to the front door and keep clicking. Oh, we don't want the fixed camera angle. As much as it's like fun as like a joke, I've tried it before playing through that DLC with the fixed camera angle. It is not made for it. That DLC is not made for that camera.
If we
I'll tell you
manage
that
to get all
much.
3 of these bonuses on one level, we get a Trinity bonus, which gives us even more extra BP. You can adjust and change your level back to previous ones at any time, so you don't have to worry about out-leveling a mission. Certain
What if you want to
stronger enemies
out-level a
will drop
mission?
new weapons or attachments for those weapons.
What if you want to
and there
out-level a
is
mission?
so much customization to be done here. We can change
I'm out of the RE lore,
character
so bad
that we're
ads, fine.
playing and
Don't worry
their
about it.
outfit, each of which gives a variety of different modifiers like extra damage with specific weapons or increased reload speed. Each weapon also has
We didn't do anything
different
with raid mode,
variations.
'cause I just didn't feel like playing it.
There are stronger and more rare assault rifles, magnums, and shotguns that you can get just from buying them with BP or from randomly picking them up in the world. The same thing goes for weapon attachments. And there's way more variety to all of this in raid mode than there was in the main campaign.
Way more.
Also, every level has 2 higher difficulty variations that can be unlocked after beating the first set of them. There's just so much to this game, and I genuinely feel like you could put 30 hours into it at least, just to get everything.
Yeah, just to do raid mode, probably. And I think a big reason for that is because on handhelds, they want to give you the incentive to keep playing. And while Resident Evil is very much one of those games where replayability is a big deal, they were thinking about like people on the go, you know?
It's incredibly addicting too. Adding these light
Wouldn't stop
RPG
complaining that you missed every
elements to
shot.
a
I feel
Resident
that.
Evil Mercenaries game is just such a genius idea.
It was cool.
Because it introduces so many different progression systems. I had a ton of fun while I was playing it, and I honestly didn't want to stop to keep working on this video because I just wanted to unlock more stuff.
Just
in
like
this
keep
mode.
getting stuff,
That
yeah.
being said, the minigame itself is pretty grindy. And
Yeah.
a lot of that time does come from the fact that you're going to have to grind a ton to get the required levels to beat
Yeah.
all of the stages. It's not classic JRPG grindy, but you're definitely going to be repeating levels over
and over again. Yeah.
And that grind doesn't come from challenge. It just comes from
Doing
raw
it.
numbers.
Yeah,
You also
just
might have
from
to go
doing
back
it.
and grind previous levels to get the BP required to keep purchasing ammunition after every round because it doesn't refill on its own and it can be expensive depending on the gun that you're using. Because of
Which can
that,
be
I don't know
annoying.
if it exactly stacks up with something like Resident Evil 4 Remake or 5's Mercenary Mode, but it's still really good. And I would
I will agree. I do think raid mode is fun. I just never spent that much time in it because I immediately realized how grindy it was.
put it down as one of my favorites. Revelations as a whole is a decent game, but it's not everything I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
In marketing and interviews, the game puts itself out there as an ode to the classic games in the series, a
Ooh.
return to form, a homecoming to the
Ooh.
horror genre.
Hey, take care of
And that's not a
Motomami.
lie, in some ways.
In some
Certain
ways.
stages of the game are exactly what they claim to be. They are atmospheric and tense. They're fun. The mystery is interesting and keeps you going forward.
I don't know about interesting. It keeps you going forward, but we'll take it.
But
we'll
other
take it.
stages just leave you feel like you're playing one of the mainline entries from the time, but on a handheld system.
Yeah.
The reason I like Revelations and don't love it is because it did have a lot of potential. and playing it is a bit of a letdown compared to how the game seems from the outside.
I agree with
The
that.
marketing, the interviews, hell, even the box design
I'll definitely
gives
agree
you
with
a
that.
certain impression. The game you get is a bit different from that impression, and that's okay, but it doesn't always work. The story is also a little more than all over the place. Cram-packed with a ton of new characters, new lore and background events. It feels like there's a whole world here, and maybe its story is just a bit too ambitious for its 6-hour runtime.
Yeah, it's not a very long Resident Evil. It is a in-between game. It gives you a ton of characters that don't really matter, and the story that it tries to like sell as a payoff is a one-off story that's never been mentioned before in any of the previous Resident Evils. So it's very much a like, I don't know why they thought this was the good idea, you know?
Jessica is a pretty central figure to the whole story here. She's working for the FBC, and she turns out to be the mole that Morgan has in the organization. She's the reason that things really start to go belly up at the end. But that being said, we rarely get any insight for her motivations outside of one flashback mission that vaguely hints towards things.
Yeah.
This is, of course, rectified in the last cutscene from the game when it's revealed that both Raymond and Jessica are working for Tricell behind the scenes.
Which is the company that Wesker ends up taking over from Excella from Resident Evil 5, which then leads into kind of then being taken over by Neo Umbrella. Tricell is just basically Umbrella 2, and then Neo Umbrella is Umbrella 3. And it's just like, okay, well, why are Jessica and Raymond never seen again?
This sort of explains things, but not really.
Ever.
Was she just getting the virus? What did Tricell want her to do there? Raymond is in a similar camp, a double, triple, whatever agent.
Quadruple
working
agent.
for multiple people. Parker is probably the most contextualized character out of the new group. He clearly cares for the people he's working with. He cares for Jill and
Feels like it's trying to tell a mainline game. Yeah, with a spin-off budget.
Raymond
Yeah.
in Terra Grigia. That act of kindness saved his own life further down the line.
Yeah.
But don't even get me started on Jackass and Grinder. Grinder is basically a nothing character, just meant to play the straight man to Jackass's weird, nerdy stalker jokes.
Yeah, and again, none of these characters ever come back. Obviously, Jill and Chris, well, Jill barely, but Chris obviously comes back in later titles, but none of these other characters are ever even mentioned again.
Jackass himself is classic hacker bro, and it doesn't really go anywhere beyond that. They do things that affect the story, they advance the plot and help out, but the characters themselves feel like they could have been switched out with anyone and it wouldn't matter. Morgan and Clive are sort of interesting. They have this feud going on that essentially fuels the entire narrative. But a lot of their interactions just boil down to,
dude.
I got you backed in a corner.
Man.
And then the other guy says, actually, I did something you would never expect. And then we get a big twist. Norman is sort of the ultimate antagonist of the game, though Morgan is definitely a bigger antagonist.
Yeah, like Norman's not built up at all, and then we find him in the end, and he's, taken the T-Abyss virus. If somehow Lansdale was there instead and he just killed Norman to kind of like cover up the fact that he could testify or something like that, and then took the T-Abyss virus himself, maybe that would have had more leeway. But yeah.
Norman is the actual last one to fight, but he's barely in the game at all.
Like
he just
two
is kind of this
scenes.
background character, and then he appears at the end, and he's our final boss.
Yep.
Jill and Chris themselves are fine. They're just the normal characters we've already seen before.
Exactly.
But the whole thing just feels off.
Yep.
And it's never really quite clear what's going on.
When's the Revelations playthrough? It probably won't be until the end of the month or until October at some time, because it is after Resident Evil 6. So we have to do 5 and 6 first. And then we'll do Revelations 2. So
this is kind of one of the big issues with making complex plots in a Resident Evil game. The series has always been pretty simple. Get too convoluted and it just doesn't fit with the series.
Yeah.
Other games are convoluted, but normally just in their finales or explanations for previous events.
Resident Evil 6 is pretty convoluted as well.
Generally, when you boil it down, they're all pretty simple tales. With Revelations, we're dealing with 2 national organizations and a resistance organization, but the resistance organization is being controlled by one of the other national organizations, and actually the resistance
playing the Resident
organization
Evils in order.
reappearing is the other national organization. It's just so incredibly odd, and it never really carries any weight with the new complexity that it brings.
Yeah, not at all.
The gameplay itself is generally fine, and the whole package is pretty impressive when you realize the game came out on the 3DS.
Damn the dive. Yeah, that's what I keep saying too, is the fact that this came out on the 3DS is hella impressive, but it is also definitely one of those things of like, man, why was this so complex? Yeah. I can see Revelations 3 taking place between 6 and 7. I don't think we're going to get a Revelations 3. I think the whole reason that Revelations was even introduced was to give the franchise a way to return to horror without sacrificing the action that the mainline games were doing. And since 7 went back to horror and then 8 kind of had the blend again of action and horror, I just think Revelations is done at this point. We can only hope. I just think it's done.
Definitely one of the better games in the action era of Resident Evil, and I would take this over 6 any day of the week. But it's for all these reasons that I can't say that I love Resident Evil Revelations. I just kind of like it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
The game was a general success with critics and fans alike. The game currently has an 82 out of 100 on Metacritic, with most outlets praising the blend of genres and the fact that it was a great handheld title.
I'll probably say that it probably deserves that for the 3DS for all the stuff that I was able to do technically on the 3DS.
The game sold well, especially for a 3DS game, but Capcom wasn't incredibly impressed with its numbers. The game had a pretty high budget, so they were hoping they could get just a little more out of it. That didn't stop them from making a sequel on the same system, though.
Hey.
But we'll talk about that next time.
Sequel on the same system? What do you mean? Revelations 2 came out way later. Wait. And on the PS4.
Thank you for...
Whoa, I guess we'll have to wait and find out what that means. I don't know what they mean by that. But anyway, everybody say thank you to your favorite son for another awesome video. Thank you, your favorite son, for letting us react to these. It's always really fun to get the retrospectives and the behind-the-scenes stuff. So thank you lots. Shubba-da-whip. Yippee! Hey, we finished another one, guys. We finished another one. Revelations 2 also came out on the PS Vita. Oh, interesting. Thank you, kiddo. That's a crazy line. That is a crazy line. Not the kiddo. Oh my goodness gracious. But guys, we made it through another Resident Evil retrospective video. And of course, as I mentioned before, we are starting Resident Evil 5 this Thursday. So if you guys are interested in seeing where the game series goes next, it's Resident Evil 5. Shia is going to be my co-op partner. He'll be playing as Sheva and Jill, where I'll be playing as Chris. So definitely check it out. It is going to be a ton of fun, and we're very excited to play through that. And then, of course, we will be playing through more of the Resident Evil franchise and watching more of the reaction videos as we go on, which is very, very exciting. Very, very looking forward to all of the goodness that there is to be had. So, but for now, that is going to do it for us with tonight's stream. I hope you guys had fun. We're going to raid into my friend Envy, who is playing the hole digging game, a game about digging a hole. So let's go send him some hype and some love. It looks, his shirt's off. Probably having a good time. I had a double take there for a second. I was like, what's happening? Let's go give him some hype and some love, guys. Thank you again, everybody, for being here. I will see you guys tomorrow for Kissing Ghosts with the boys. I'll be back with Papa Mutt, Nick Nocturne, and Shia Bun. We're going to be playing Paranormal Cleanup. So definitely look forward to that if you guys like any of the silly, spooky shenanigans that we've done in the past. So, all right, guys, I will see you next time.